Hello, 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 hello here. So, standing up on top of the lighthouse here. How's it going there, Citrus? What's happening? What's happening? So, just a little bit of this and that. So, you know, don't know exactly what I want to do. Bunch of builds going on right now. Sub testing went really well last night. I released oil drilling tutorial yesterday. Yesterday was tutorial day. I spent the morning pulling my hair out. I recorded the tutorial, the drilling tutorial 3 or 4 times, did a bunch of testing for it, and then finally got a good copy that I was happy with. Released that last night. The next installment of that series is the fractioning and pumping. That is currently, it will be processed up to HD in about 80 minutes. So hopefully release that soon. That will also come with the stuff, the workshop link. So you'll be able to have a fractioning tower that works. So let's actually go. We'll start with looking at that. If you guys would watch that later, and I appreciate if you like the video. That will help people find it. I keep hearing that it is broken. Nothing works. So it does work. Let's go ahead and we'll grab the version. I'll demonstrate to you that it works indeed, and you can watch me put together and all the minutia there about it. So let's go ahead, and this is the one from the videos. So this fractioning tower and pumping tower does work. It works really well, and it has one electric furnace. That's all you need. So start pumping here. We'll get this running in the background here. So turn the fractioning tower, a big part of it. I won't give away the video, but as usual, people think that bigger, faster, more flow, more pumps more heat is gonna fix all your problems, and it's not. You have to think of it realistically. A lot of this stuff is quite intuitive, so we'll let this fraction tower run here for a second. How's it going there, Citrus? What's happening? What's happening? Yep, next one's coming out soon. Oh, nice, building a rescue. But yeah, I've been watching some of the stuff on Creation Showcase of your new build there, Citrus, looking good. Yeah, so this and that's just, a little bit of random stuff here. I'm not sure exactly. I've got like 20, I've got many pies in the oven, as they say. What is it, hands and pies? I forget exactly how the expression goes. I'll have to look it up. But cool stuff with the submarine last night. I'll bring up some of my pictures. The sub came out really cool, so show some of the work on the sub. But have the this here. I did an endurance test. There was questions of what my endurance looked like. So it holds about 3,000 liters of diesel. It never needs to surface until you run out of diesel. The way this is working is what it's doing is, I can show you the system. It's actually overkill. I'm going to actually reconfigure some of it today so that some of the stored air will actually go into life support. Which, actually, I didn't have any issue with life support either. I'll have to do some extra testing on that. But Big Man wants life support in there, so we'll put it in there. So this was 50% fuel. So started off here at FJ, went up through the river, and to Holt Town, it's about 50% of the submarine's fuel to get there. Was going greater than 20 knots. Actually, when I descend down pretty low into the water, I was going like 31 knots, so get really good speeds off that. Here is the total endurance of the submarine. So start FJ, little screenshot there. This is the Holt that's at the 50% mark. There's a nice picture going through the river. And then once I got out of the river, I just headed in a straight line as far as I could and ran out of fuel. So that is the entire endurance of the submarine. So pretty good if we compare it to the live map in-game. Kind of see where that was here. So it was, I think this is the same seed. Yeah, it should be. So it's right up about, I think it was right off of this island. So right up about here. You can see this island in the background. So right about there. So if we look at that distance-wise, it was kind of a corkscrewy distance. So I'm curious how, we probably wouldn't make the Arctic, but again, it's a pretty small sub, so not that it needs to. I'd rather tow it with something anyway, but, submarine's working really well. Show you some of the systems on that. We should be, where are we at here on temp-wise? So we're at 284 degrees. So this is coming up. But I don't want to. I won't give away too much of it, but at the end of the day, you need to think about it. I talked about it yesterday, so it doesn't really matter. But you know, I use the baked potato analogy. Is if you take a baked potato, you put it in a 1,000-degree oven for 10 seconds, you're not going to cook the baked potato. Even though the oven is very hot, it's never going to get cooked. There we go, 300 degrees. And so what you want to do is slow it down. So you take the baked potato, you put it in a 500-degree oven for an hour, and now you have a nice cooked baked potato. Same thing's going on here with the oil. People are sending oil through. They're looking. There's like, oh, let's see if I can get 257 liters per second on my pumps. Well, you know, it's like quickly throwing a gallon of water in a pot, dumping it out. Put a gallon of water in a pot, dumping it out. Gallon of water in a pot on the stove, dumping it out. Never going to heat up. You need to leave it on the stove, let it cook. And the more water you have in there, the harder it's going to be to heat it up. So by leaving the flow rate nice and low, we have the valves at 20%. Let's look at this flow rate. 3.55 liters. And so we can actually compress liquids in this game. I've talked about this before. It's not really realistic, but I do agree with some of the decisions the devs made on that. Is, you know, for example, if you had a pipe full of liquid and there was any air trapped in there, what would happen is you would get things like compressible bubbles, which would, you know, you have some hydraulic problems with that. You get that with brakes where, for example, you get a bubble in there, you get a squishy spot. You also would have a problem where if you couldn't compress the liquid would go in there and compress the air to critical compression, essentially compressing the air into a liquid itself, and your system would lock up. So the devs talked about putting in the ability for liquids to compress a little bit. That will allow it to, for example, you might be able to compress the liquid a little bit, get the air out of there. So it gives you a little bit more flexibility. So as you can see, we're up to 60 atmospheres of pressure in there, but real slow liter per second on that. And we are at 330 degrees. We have one furnace. So people have been trying to do the standard Stormworks thing. Oh, give it more heat, give it more furnaces. I'll put 5 furnaces. That will work. Nope, nope, nope. You want to put that potato in the oven and let it cook, baby. So that is what you need to do here. And as you can see, this one, let's see, I haven't turned the pumps on, so that's why we're not making any. But there we go, jet and diesel. So this should be out soon. Like I said, it's about 80 minutes. It showed. Let me check it real quick here. I'll give you an update. It is currently, the draft is set to go, so it's not up to, I actually just got the message, I think. Yep, all checks are complete on the video. Let me see if it's still processing to HD. I don't really care if it's 100% HD. I'm gonna launch it. People can watch it in low def, and then people have been waiting for this video, so I'm gonna go ahead and just drop it. You can play in the background if you want, but don't leave me. So let's quickly, I'm just going to launch this video here for you guys. A bunch of people have been having issues. I've been seeing this all over Reddit of cannot get their fractioning towers to work. So we'll go ahead and I'll release this so people can use it. So let's find the right tabs. Just bear with me one moment as I get this going here. I have to do a bunch of linking because I have the workshop, so we'll go ahead and bring that up here. You guys can watch the process. Take me just a second. So that video is now launched. We'll just edit quickly, put the link on here to the vidya. Or else I'll get a question, how do you make it work? Where the video now has the link on there. So let's do that up real quick. Alright, and we'll make this live as well. Alright. I do not have any timestamps in there at present, so let me go ahead and just quickly we'll get rid of the timestamps in that video. I will put them in later. I have the old timestamps from the other video. So that is now public. You guys can watch that at your leisure on how to do that fractioning. Looks like my audio's working on my end. Citrus, can you let Tripper know if the audio is working for you? I assume it is, but just let me know, please. Citrus, thank you. All right, so let's go ahead and I want to go over and work on the submarine a little bit. finally broke down and made a Google what do you call it, docs for the big man submarine. My notepad is quite ugly looking right now with notes, so I was like, I gotta finally just do a proper one. I'll take a pic of my notes here. They're quite disgusting for this for the submarine. It's really not all that helpful at the end of the day, so you guys can have a nice thumb shot. All right, so submarine's working really well. Okay, good. Citrus audio is working, thanks. So if we go ahead and spoon the submarine, submarine's working really well. I put in a cool system. I'm gonna work on it. I need to work on the formula here. So essentially what, I like to try to make these things that you actually have to be a pilot. I don't want it all automated. So some of the system, the over automation I was gonna do, I decided against. So for example, I was gonna have it set where you automatically, it sets your ballast. No, man, you do your ballast. You're the pilot. Get involved with the craft. And so let's go ahead and start heading out. So one cool system I have on here. Get moving. One of the cool systems I have on here is the way that the depth hold works, which is pretty much tuned in now. So you have your set depth, what depth you want to go down to, and you have your current depth. Now, there's a little bit of a difference in here just because the depth is off of a physics sensor, which is at the very bottom of the craft, so that's why it's showing negative right now, is we're sitting up high above the water, and that's below. I'm going to probably put a correction in there so that the bottom is the right level. That way, we don't hit the bottom. All right, so let's say that I go ahead and we have 18 meters below us. Let's get out there a little bit here. I'm going to go ahead and put on a waypoint here. All right, we'll go ahead and set that in. We'll go now GPS AP master. We'll turn to the point. Get rid of this. I don't want to see my waypoint. Let's get rid of those. Okay, good. So here we are. We're 18 minutes away at current speed. We're doing 16 knots. I'll speed us up a little bit. Make sure we have infinite electricity is off. Infinite electricity is now off. That's why the engine wasn't up. Was because that was not on. So need 20 knots for the challenge. We'll get 20 knots is fine. All right, so we have 31 meters under our keel. So if I go ahead and I crank down, hit 60 meters, we're gonna hit the bottom. But we have a terrain following distance. So if the terrain following distance is set to 0, this will crash and hit the bottom. We set 60, it's going to give me 60, it's going to hit the bottom because we only have 40. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put terrain following up to 10 meters. All right, so that's close enough. 10 meters. All right, we're going to go down. Make sure the door is closed. It is. All right, I'm going to go ahead and add some ballast here. So what did I say for ballast? 5150 is neutral buoyancy, so we'll put that in. Now, once it gets within, it dicked up here because I do need to fix the formula. But what will happen is as we get within the terrain following distance range, it's going to switch over to terrain following distance. So I have it, I need to fix the formula. What's happening is once it goes through that distance, once it goes through, I think, let's see, 5 meters below it, something like that, it will automatically keep going. And so I just need to fix the formula. But so what this will do is when you put in a terrain following distance, it will try to go to where you're setting, 60 meters. But if it can't, it's going to follow the essentially a safety buffer. So you go down, you say I want 60, there's only 40, it will go 9.2 meters above the bottom. And what will happen is as soon as the depth, which our current depth is 34 meters, as soon as we can go down to 60, it will continue to go down to 60. So you'll notice it's going to follow the terrain at about 10 meters until we can get to 60, then it's going to level off at 60. Now, currently, it's never going to go back to leveling off. It's going to continue on terrain falling. I need to change the formula up, but that's kind of the notion. So you're putting a little safety buffer in there, and this is going to prevent you from crashing into the bottom. But let's say you want to actually sit on the bottom and you want to go out the airlock. You can also set that up so you can go out the airlock. You can still sit on the bottom. As long as you put your terrain following to 0, it will let you hit the bottom. It will let you sit on the bottom. It will let you go as, deep as you want. So you notice we're now past 60. this is what I need to fix in the formula, because what it does is it switches from essentially, so think of this as, I'm trying to put it the best way. So what it's doing now is it's going to stay on terrain falling. It just switches it over to terrain falling mode. What I'm going to do is make it so that it will stay on the depth. So essentially we'll go back to this altitude hold, or this depth hold rather, if you have enough terrain space. So I need to fix that up. Not explaining it well, but it's as you can see, it's terrain following. So this is now in terrain following mode. So we'll go down there. If I go ahead and, for example, if I take off terrain following mode and go to 0, it's going to go over to the 60 meters. So that's essentially what I'll have it automate is, now it's going to capture 60 meters. So that's essentially just a safety feature. So you don't have to wait. If you want to go down to 200 meters, you set 200 meters, you put your 10 meter buffer, your 5 meter buffer, your 20 meter buffer, up to 500 meter buffer. And, it will follow the terrain until it gets to the depth you want. So you want 200 meters, it will eventually give it to you if you can have it, as, because the seafloor will go up and down the entire time in game. So like right here, it's deep. Well, as we come close to these islands coming up, it's likely going to get shallower. And so, if we're at 200 meters and the seafloor starts to come up, as long as we have a buffer set in there, it will start to follow the terrain. So it automates that, so you're not crashing and causing yourself problems. What else? I need to fix this just so it's not flittering back and forth. I actually don't mind it too much, but I'm going to probably fix that. So we have depth under keel, we have set depth, we have current depth. As you see, that's holding well. We'll go ahead and we'll yank this back. I'll do some work on it, but working really well here. All right, so let's recall this. I forgot to check the speed. I was going up to 31 knots underwater, so it's faster underwater than it is above water. So to show you how this engine works, I'll bring up that pic again of the endurance test. But the endurance test worked out really, really well. So this was the endurance. So this is how far it can go on one tank of fuel, which I'm more than happy with. We could just, at any point you can stop for fuel. I need to put in a refuel in, which it currently does not have, but pretty good endurance. So and this can go underwater the entire time. And the way it works is the snorkel pumps air in. It's pre-filled with air, so the snorkel doesn't have to pump too much. But it has 6 tanks. That's way overkill. I probably could actually use 1 tank, and that would be perfectly fine. But we have overkill. I have 6 tanks in here. And so what this does is, and this actually works realistically, and it's not cheaty, which I really didn't want to cheaty, especially for a competition. So it has these 2 large pumps. They pump up to 60 atmospheres in these 6 tanks. All right. And then what happens is you have a variable valve on either side. So they're symmetrical. And then you have a gas port and you have a fluid port, fluid port. And so what it does is it maintains, there's a barometer right here, and I put in that I want this engine room, to stay at 1 atmosphere. So it will automatically vent as much air into this room as necessary to maintain 1 atmosphere. Then let me make sure I hit the right button, there we go. Then this air filter here will start to suck air in with a supercharger into the engine, and so the air will start to go down in this room. As the air goes down in this room, as the engine consumes more air, then these tanks will release more air. And so it is a more realistic system. Some people talk, why don't you just put a tank right up against it? The thing with that is that, as far as I'm concerned, is kind of cheaty, because it won't actually use the air, as far as from what I've heard. This actually works. So I think by the end of the run there I did on the endurance test, it was down to 57 atmospheres in the tanks. So I only used 3 atmospheres for a whole tank of diesel. So by storing my air, well, that's actually not 100% true, because when I was in the river, I was above water. So when you're above water, the snorkel will automatically go up and it will pump air into the tanks. So for a good portion of the trip, I was actually above water. Let's actually find the portion of the trip that I was. So I came back up above water around here, I think, and then I stayed above water all the way through here. And then when I got down here, I went back underwater and spent the rest of the time underwater there. And so I went down to like 260 meters for a good portion of this. And so all of this portion here, it was breathing from outside. And so this was all stored air. It recovered its air here, and then this was all underwater here, no problem. And so this section here, it only used 3 atmospheres of air from my tanks. So very minimal. So the system is working really well, and it's working realistically. So that would work IRL, you know, as long as you're storing air and you're pumping it to your engine room, and then the engine can breathe. You know, the engine stays running the whole time, able to do like 31 knots at some points. So really nice and efficient. How's it going there, Oceanic? Let's read some of this chat. I said hi to Tripper. I did. Jigger, how are you? How are you? Okay, good. The audio's working for you there, Tripper. Nice. And how's it going there, FS? How's it going there, Oceanic? Nice to you guys. All right, so I need to work on this formulae. I figured out my errors here when I was last night, and then I need to fix it. So essentially, this is the depth hold system. Pretty simple. We take in the physics sensor. This is the current altitude. We do an altitude correction here, which I need to see why it's screwy. Let's see. That might be going the wrong way. So the altitude correction needs to go in there just because the port is, the physics sensor is lower. So I might actually get rid of that altitude correction. I'll see. And so essentially it goes in. We take, right here I have the depth hold. So what I want for depth. And then it goes through the PID from what our current altitude is. And then it will, let's see, what's this? That's just reading out the actual dial. Then this section here is the terrain following. So pretty simple here. I can go from 0 to 500 meters of terrain following. So 500 is excessive. I'll probably change that. Let's make that 100 meters. Okay, there's 100 meters. And so what it does here is I need to work on this formula. It's a little bit bonkers, so I need to fix it. So what it's doing here is it's taking my set, and it's taking, where's the other value here? It's taking the duct, the depth under keel. So that is your distance sensor pointing right down. And so what it does is it takes, let's say that I set my following distance to 10. So it'd be 10 divided by, and let's say our depth under keel is 60. So that is 0.16. All right. So we're too far away. So when I'm at, what did I do? Let's stand by here a second. 10 meters, and let's say we're 60. Yeah, 10 divided by 60. So we're 60 meters away from the bottom, and I have it set at 10. It's going to be 0.16. All right. Now let's say we're at 20 meters. Let's say we want 10 again. 10 divided by 20. That's going to give us 0.5. All right, so what that's going to do is 0.5 is still too small. So let's do 10 divided by 15. That's 0.66, still too much. Let's do 10 divided by 12 meters. That's 0.83. So it's based on percentages, so this makes sense that as you're coming closer, you know, the bigger the variable, you'll have a different range. But so now that we're at 0.83, we're close enough to that what it's going to do is it's going to switch the system over from the depth hold to the terrain following. So in this case, once we get within 2 meters of the desired depth, it's going to automatically start to switch over, and it will go from the current set depth to the terrain following mode. So it kicks in terrain following mode. All right, now I have it set to a max of 1.3. So let's say you go under it, right? Let's see where we're at here. This is where my problem is. So let's say I set it at 10, right? And let's say we're at 0. So 10 divided by, well, 0 is not going to work. 10 divided by 1, that's going to be 10. All right. So if we were at 1 meter above the ground, it's going to, I don't know, what it's going to do is it's going to trigger it back from the terrain following mode back into this mode. And the problem with that is, you know, the example I used before, let's say that I set my depth hold to 200 meters and it's shallow. I'm currently going out to sea, and I want it to go to 200 meters, and I just want to leave it alone. I want to go down and sit in the kitchen, right? I want to be able to set it at 200 meters. I want to be able to put my safety system, my terrain falling at 10 meters. It's going to go down. It's going to set this trigger off because once, let's say we have 16 meters. So once we get down there, 6 meters down, we're going to trip this system, and now it's going to terrain follow until it can go to 200 meters. And so what we want to do here is this. I think I want to make this unlimited. Let me check. So we'll try a big number here. So, yeah, so we want this unlimited. And the reason is we don't want it to trip out. So, like, if I did 10 times 1.3, let's see, 1.3 times 10. So, yeah, let's go like this. So let's try this unlimited. So, essentially unlimited. Actually, we'll just do, this will make it easier for me so that I can change it on the fly. So this formula works. So we'll do greater than, we'll go there, we'll go there. I'll put in a property text. So this is the terrain following variability. All right, and so we're going to do 0.7. So as long as the variability is greater than 0.7, it's going to keep us in terrain following mode. So we'll actually do some quick tests here to make sure that that number is going to work. So again, let's set our depth to 10 meters. All right, and let's say we divide it by 2 meters. So let's say we shoot through. So we're coming down, right? We go through 10 meters. Well, what do we want it to do? We want it to pitch back up, go up to 10 meters. So we shoot down to 2 meters above the water. We equal that. That's going to be 5. Well, before what was happening is, because it was 1.7, it would switch back to this mode. Well, as long as this mode up here is reading a lower number, say 200 meters, it was going to keep going. It was going to smash into the ground. So what this should do is this should keep it in this mode, and the PID's going to say, hey, you're down to 2 meters, man. I want you up at 10. It's going to then pitch us back up automatically. All right, so that should work. Let's see. So now let's do a quick variability test. All right, so let's say we keep descending down with terrain, right? I have set my desired depth at 200 meters. Okay. So let's see. I'm gonna have to add a parameter because this is the problem. It's gonna go into this mode, and as long as it stays within that depth. Try to think. Okay, so what we can do here is this. We'll do a Boolean. All right, and we'll go ahead, we'll plug that in there like so. That's W. And then what I want to do is it's 10%. The percentage is not going to be. Okay, this is what we'll do. All right, so we'll do, let's see, where we want. I want this is my current altitude. Trying to think of the best way to do this. So essentially what I'm trying to do is, if we can, essentially we don't want to go below it. All right, so what we want to do is, so current depth is not greater than, so let's see. All right, so we'll do a greater than. So if our current depth, which is the altimeter, is greater than our set depth, where is set depth? Set depth, right there. So if our current depth is greater than the set depth, right? So essentially I put in 200 meters and we're at 210, right? We don't want to go below that hard limit. And so what we'll do here is, if this is, so this, and this will be not. So if it's going to be W and not, what do we want there? Let's just do X. W and not X. That will go here. And so we'll test this out really quickly. So what it should do is, again, this will work that if we want 200 meters and the water is only, 10 meters deep, it's going to terrain follow. Once we get to the point where we can go deeper, or, let's say now so we're terrain following, and we get to 210 meters, it's going to say, nope, switch back to the other, and it's going to stop us. So this should work. Yep, that should work fine. And this variability here is going to save us from crashing into the ocean floor. So this will always switch us over to this mode if we're going to hit the floor. So that's pretty simple there, I think. That should work. Let's go give it a quick test run. Took me a minute to wrap my squish around that. I was able to get quite a bit of the ballast. I don't need much ballast water anymore. All right, so let's go ahead. We'll start her up. So this sub has been fun to make. I've been wanting to do some subs. It's getting the systems right, and I really didn't care too much about subs until we got pressurization. I keep seeing some calls by a couple, a few people that roll back the update. No. The update is here to stay. They're going to make it better. Let's let them make it better. I think in the long run, the update is going to be fan-frickin-tastic. Adding pressurization has been so cool. There's so much cool stuff we can do now, like proper submarines and stuff. I think a lot of people are just, understandably, they don't understand it. And because they don't understand it, they want to go back to what was safe and what was known to them, which was how it worked. And once they figure it out, I think they're going to be happy. And some people not interested in learning this stuff, that's fine. But, that's why I think a lot of people want it rolled back. So if we look here, or some people want it rolled back. So this is the storage in the tank. See, the tank is spitting air into the engine room right there. And this is going up. The reason the engine room is going up, even though the engine is breathing, is because the storage tanks are feeding that engine room. So the storage tanks are trying to get the engine room up to 1 atmosphere. And then once that gets there, we'll be losing our storage at the rate that we need to keep that. Now, since we're above the water, the pumps are going to pump enough air in that will fix the system. So we're good. All right, so we have 44 meters below us. All right, so I'm going to set a depth of 200 meters. Yep, we'll do 200 meters. Okay, there's 238. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and set my terrain falling distance. Let's not make it so close to the ground. Let's make it 20. Because we do have the depth to do this. So let's go 20. All right, we are 38 meters below us. All right, so let's go ahead and activate the system. 200 is not really going to work because I doubt we're going to get to 200. So I'm just going to we'll go to 100. We can probably find 100 here. All right, there's 100. All right, so of course we can't go to 100. So once it gets close to the ground, don't screw up, you sucker. What the hell is it doing now? Okay. All right, so I need to look at what's up with that formula. That formula's bonk. All right, formula's bonk. Let's fix it. So what should have happened was, let's see. So what happened there? So let's do the variability equation really quick. So I put in 20 meters. All right, we went down to 0, so let's just do divided by 2. So that's 10, yep. So the this was greater than 0.7. It absolutely was. Check this. Oh, this is Y. Nope. W and not Y. So W, if it was W, which is this, make sure W and not X. So that's X. Let's check X. So I had set, I ended up setting at 100. So let's see, 100. So that was set to 100. 100 should have been greater. What? Nope. Nope. Sorry. Okay, I have these backwards. That's why. This is backwards. Okay, this should be here. So what I was doing is The this is reading the altitude, so the altitude was like, say, 40. 40 is 40 greater than 100? No, it isn't. So that killed this. Okay, so let's go like this. That should fix this here. Okay, so now we had 100 in there. So is 100 greater than 40? Yes, it is. So because that X was active, it should have deactivated this. So that was just backwards. Makes sense. Screwed it up. Let's put it this way. I got up at 11 yesterday, 11:30 yesterday, and I worked for many frustrating hours. The cat wouldn't leave me alone. I was having all sorts of problems with the first tutorial because I wanted to try out a new way of doing things, and when I'm trying to do the tutorial, that's generally not the best practice because I don't know if the new way is going to work. And so it was fine, but I was afraid that it was going to be too troublesome for somebody new. So what I was trying to do is I really like the rod and end clamps. It's essentially a mag-all, but it only attaches to the end of the rod. So you can do some cool stuff where you use a winch and you winch up the pipes. The benefit with this, you can lay the pipes on the ground. You can put them in the back of a truck. If you use the clamp, you have to have a gap between each pipe. If you use the winch, you don't. And so the nice thing with that is it's much more compact. The problem is you had to worry about when you attach to the table or you attach to the drill connection clamp, it will cause the winch to get pulled under tension really badly. It's kind of buggy. And so then when you detach it, sometimes the winch would go flying. So it was too unreliable. And so I recorded like 30 minutes at a time and then had a problem. 30 minutes at a time, had a problem. So what I did was went back and recorded the old system that I know that works. That worked. Got that done. It was a lot of editing to get that done. It was kind of funny. I could blame him. He just kept jumping on me, being a pain in the ass. I'll bring up. Let's see if I have the. I'll bring up my edits from yesterday's video. This is pretty normal. Let me see if I think put it in general. Let that run out. I need to get out. So this was, for example, I'll go display cap. You guys can see this was the cuts. So like you see how many cuts were in this section of the video. That is usually when I'm doing a microcontroller. I need to put a ton of cuts in there because, for example, if I'm typing in the name of something, I'm typing in, pressure regulator. You don't need to sit there and watch me write in pressure regulator. It takes too long, so I cut out, the gap in there so that it instantly types pressure regulator. So I have to do that for everything I type in there on the microcontroller. So it took a while to get that video done. Then it took like over an hour to export it, and then it took, an hour to process it, and then I got on the second one. So a lot of tutorialing yesterday, so brain might be a little bit mush. All right, so let's go ahead and get the system going. We're out to sea a little bit here. So we have 40 meters under us. All right, I want to set a safety distance. Let's set it down to, we'll just do 15 or whatever. That's good enough, 11.5. All right, now I want to set the depth greater than 41. We'll do it something I can actually reach. So let's go to like 100. All right, there's 100. Let's set it. So we should go down. I'll set my ballast here. So let's do 5150. We don't need the ballast water. I can power down, but it will help. All right, so it should be taken over. Yep, perfect. So now it's gone into terrain fall. It says, hey, man, you can't have 100 meters. You're going to hit the bottom. Instead, I'll follow the terrain until I can give you 100 meters. So that's kind of what it's doing. It's a little bit aggressive, but I kind of need it to be aggressive because when I have no ballast water in there, I'm having to fight the air that's in my submarine. So you'll notice it'll take a little while for the PID to get stable, but now, as you can see, it's stable. So we did a couple bucks. It's going to keep bucking there as we go down on the shelf. But I kind of have to do this because when I don't have neutral buoyancy, I'm fighting the air, trying to push me back to the surface. So I need to use the engine more, and I need more pitch on my dive planes. Once I have neutral buoyancy, I need very little pitch, and so that actually works fine. So it's a little bit, does some bucking up and down. Well, we're full of air, water, but I actually increased the pumping on this. This fills very fast now. We're right up to 3,400 liters, and we only need 5,150 for neutral buoyancy, so we're good there. As you can see, we're doing 30 knots. We're a lot faster actually underwater than we are above the surface. So we're on the surface, I can get 20, 21 knots. We're doing a good 30 knots under here. So it's very cool. All right, so as you can see here, our current depth is 79 meters. You notice we're continually going down, but we're staying within 11 meters of the bottom so we don't hit. If this system wasn't in, we would have smashed into the bottom a long time ago. Now we want 101. So what's I hope is going to happen, I think I have the formulas set up right now, is here we come up on 101 meters. As soon as we're able to go below that, it's going to say, nope, go to the other system. So here it's coming. So once we can go down to, 102 meters, say, bingo, we should be hopefully leveling off. There we go. And we're going back up. So now we're on the other system. Now it might click back and forth because as you see, we're right close around 24 meters. But as long as the ground doesn't come back up at us, we're holding 101 meters within 1 meter. So this is going to set it. So say, for example, that the crush depth of this sub is 300 meters. We never want it to go below 300 meters. It will terrain follow down. We set it at 300 meters. It will level off at 300 meters and will not let itself get crushed. So let me read that. Let me read some of this good chait here. Start a mech just have to get it walking and make the screens and HUDs. Yeah, that's cool. I've never worked on a mech. Mech would be kind of cool. How's it going there, Rasmus? Good to see you. All right, you're gonna watch that oil tutorial. Make sure you give it a like there, FS. I can't blame the cat, dude. He's got this sixth sense where he's like, oh, data stressed. I'll go and bug him, and he doesn't mean to bug me, but he's like, I'll get hyper focused on something. And that's when I get a little grouchy, is it's like I'm really focused on something, and when I get distracted, I've got some ADHD, and so when I get distracted, it starts bugging me, and he sees me getting a little bit stressed out, and he wants to come and bug me to be my buddy, and it's just like, dude, give me a break. But as you can see, we're only down to 90% battery. And we're currently discharging, but you see we're really low. So what I'm going to do is I'll tap off the down arrow to reduce the thrust. And let's do it one more time. Now we are producing electricity. So that's it. We've lost less than 1 knot, and we're now able to recharge our battery. So you notice that is slowly going up. So completely enclosed system, self-sufficient here. You notice where, the bottom is now variable. It's coming back up. So let's see, the bottom is coming back up to us, which makes sense. As you can see, this shelf, there's a shelf here. So as the bottom comes back up, this system, once we get to the point where we can't maintain this anymore, what's going to trigger it is once the terrain following goes above 0.7. So it's going to be, we're at 11. So let's see, what's 11? So 0.7 times 11. So once we get to 7.7 meters from the bottom, so once the bottom is within 7.7 meters of us, it's going to say, oh crap, we're going to hit the bottom, and it's going to switch over to this system from this system. So it's going to automatically protect us. So you see we're 15. So this might go up and down, but I'm trying to, I think the ground does come back up at us here from yesterday's testing. So once we get within 7.7 meters of the bottom, it's going to automatically put us back into terrain following mode. So I can leave this. I don't have to sit here and pay attention with this system. We can go down and enjoy, the downstairs. I don't have to babysit it now because it's going to protect us. Now, I could hit a rock straight ahead of us. I'm not putting in a system for that. But here's my camera. I don't know what those smidges are on the camera there. I hope that's not something I have to worry about hitting. So this is kind of cool. The top number is just going to be the FOV. So we'll go to 75. We'll zoom in. And then this isn't going to work underwater, but at night, if we put a number greater than 0, we get the night scope. So that's on the front. So that allows me to run this. So as you can see, that's the bottom right there. So we're coming up on the bottom. We should be leveling off and going on the other system. We'll test it out. I might have hit something here. Let's see. Nope, let's see. See if we hit the bottom. I do want to see if we hit the bottom. So. Yeah. Nope, we leveled off. So as you can see, the system's working well. As you can see, we're also climbing again. So even though I still have it set at 100 meters, it's climbing because we can't go 100 meters. And there you go. See it following that little ridge line. It followed that. So kind of a cool system. It protects you from, you know, slamming to the bottom, and it automatically switches the modes, which, you know, some automation is nice for that just because it protects you, you know, so you can't slam on the bottom. You know, it should be able to run with damage, and it should catch itself. Now, if you put it where you want to follow the terrain 1 meter from the ground, yeah, it'll probably hit the bottom. But as long as you're like 10 meters, it seems to be catching itself. That's another reason I have the P-value a little bit on the high end, is if you're going to slam into the bottom, I would rather it overcorrect and shoot way up and go into a little bit of an oscillation for a couple seconds than let you slam into the bottom. So kind of protects you from that. Snorkel's in, as you can see. We've been underwater for a little while. You notice the atmospheres here are going down in the tanks because the snorkel can no longer refill the tanks. The atmosphere in the engine room here, it's set to 1, but it gets it pretty close. We're at 0.97 atmospheres in the engine room. And so it is currently, you know, using the tank volume to feed the engines. So pretty cool system, working really, really well. I would love to make a submarine tanker. Would be kind of cool. A big sub. Like, I had no interest in subs whatsoever, and I'm really starting to get some interest in subs because, like, I would love to make like a Triton-sized submarine with an airplane in it. Like, this is the thing that bugs me when I see roll back the update. Is I think a lot of people, like I said, is they just don't. You know, and I get it. I understand. You don't want to go back and have to fix a bunch of builds. Really, most of my stuff didn't break because I built them to be resilient. You know, but the benefits of this, and this is one of the reasons why it really bugged me when people were doing review bombing and shitting on the game and not waiting to see if it got fixed, which it's mostly fixed now. Things are really good. I think pressure update was an awesome idea. And what I'm afraid of is I'm afraid the devs are going to see the negativity. They're going to say, you know, we got death threats from this shit, you know, and they're going to say, screw it. We're not taking risks anymore. We're not going to try something that could be very cool, could make the game really much better because people are going to be afraid their builds break on the workshop. And that's what I'm afraid of. And the reason is this. This will be a net positive as far as I'm concerned. I think it is already a net positive. I love the pressure update. This could have some really fantastic new applications. Hydraulics, right? The devs made it so that we can compress liquids, right? We can compress them up to 60 atmospheres. What does that say to me? Hydraulic pistons, right? That is super simple with this liquid update, where they pressurize the liquid to make it into hydraulics, right? So say, for example, what did we hit this bottom here for? Oh, you know what it is? We're turning. Okay, that's what it is. We do this big dive. I need to fix my turn rate. You'll notice, watch this. If we turn, see how we dive a little bit when we turn? So what's happening is, I have to fix this system. We hit the waypoint. So if I go ahead and just shut this off, we'll be fine. All right. So we just hit the bottom because when it made its turn, it dips down, which actually happens in real life with airplanes too. As you make your turn, you're losing your lift vector. And so because you're losing your lift vector, you're now turning, so some of that lift vector has to go into turning you, and some of it also has to go into keeping you up. And what that means is in an airplane or even in the submarine, you have to pitch more in order to overcome it because let's say you turn at 45 degrees. 45 degrees of your resultant lift vector is going into the turn, and let me rephrase that. If you're at 45 degrees, 50% of your resultant lift vector is going into the turn, and 50% of your resultant lift vector is now used to maintain your altitude. And so what you need to do in an airplane is you need to increase elevator pressure. You need to pull back on the yoke so that you're increasing your total lift vector because your resultant lift vector has been lost, what's maintaining your altitude, essentially. So hopefully that makes some sort of sense. As you can see, we're at neutral buoyancy here. I got it pretty close. I'm not going to bother. I might do it. I might put an autopilot system in for this, but notice we're gently sinking at 5150, but very, very gentle. So I could put a system in here. I might just do a manual, where the but you notice we can go negatively buoyant, we can go positively buoyant. If we want to sink to the bottom, I think we have like 6,000 something, so we'll put 7 grand in here. This will sink us to the bottom. You'll notice that number should start getting smaller. Let me see, what was I saying here? I got into some physics here. Yeah, so, back to pressure. So, I think the pressure is going to be a net positive for us in the game. Absolutely. I already think it is. Like, I had no interest in submarines until this. This is awesome to me. We have to worry about suffocating now, right? We had to worry about drowning before, but now we have to worry about suffocating. We have to worry about how pressure is going to affect things like we can do, you know, actual ballast tanks now. You know, we used to not be able to pump out properly in a submarine. It kept me from wanting to make submarines because I couldn't pump out the submarine properly by increasing the air pressure and then pumping the water out. Now we can do that. And so this makes some really exciting stuff. And like, I would love to see hydraulics and pneumatics, where hydraulics, you know, they let us pressurize liquid now. So it's very simple. You take essentially, you know, let's use the pneumatic piston. Instead of feeding it a number, right, if the A side, right, you put 2 pipes on there. You have the A side, which is on the left of the piston, and you have the B side, which is on the right. You know, we'll do top bottom. The A side's is on the base of the piston. The B side is on the top of the piston. If you pump your liquid from the top side to the bottom side, the piston will extend. If you pump from the bottom, if you push into the bottom and you pump out of the top, if you pump in the top and you take out of the bottom, it's going to cause the piston to retract. I think it would be super cool to have the ability to actually pump and move pistons. That would be fan-frickin-tastic as far as I'm concerned. That would be awesome. The same thing with pneumatics, right? You have the same piston. It's exactly the same, but the difference is instead of pumping liquid into it, you're pumping air. And you can make it so that the air is a little bit squishier, right? If you're putting 30 atmospheres in there, guess what happens to the piston? It will squish, right? If you put 60 atmospheres in there, which is the cap, it will no longer squish. And so it will act like a liquid piston, a hydraulic piston. So there we are. As you can see, sinking to the bottom nicely. Yeah, so I think this is fantastic. And this is what really, you know, I'll use the word, it pissed me off when people were doing review bombing, because I think they're being ultra short-sighted. At the end of the day, what's going to happen is this is going to make the game better. And you can't slap the devs in the face every time they take a risk, or else they stop taking risks. And that's what I'm afraid of is, you know, people get so pissed off and they rant and they rave, and the devs say, screw it, we can't make any big changes, we can't take a risk to make the game cooler, because if it inconveniences some people for 6 months, we're going to lose a bunch of customers. And that's why I think that's a bad thing, is we need developers in general to be willing to take risks. That's how you get a really cool game, is people willing to take risks. If you want the same cookie-cutter garbage, you shit on people every time they take a risk. You know, you don't have to like the game. It's perfectly fine if you don't, and you don't have to like the choices, but shitting on somebody for taking risks is the quickest way to get them to stop taking risks, and that's not cool, because we're going to lose. We're the ones that are going to lose, because there we go, we're going to do an emergency ballast blow. Not possible before pressure. Look at all that air going in there. Look how fast the water's going out. Emergency blow is possible now. This used to not be possible. All this stuff is really cool, you know, that was the devs taking a risk, and I hope they're not afraid to take it. I don't think they are. Luckily, I think they're ignoring those people, which they should be. You know, you need to just hang on to your current core audience of people who are enjoying the game, because, you know, the people who are disgruntled, they're never going to be happy no matter what you do. You need to listen to the people who are enjoying it. They're the ones that are going to stick around. The people who are enjoying the game are going to stick around, you know. So let's look really quick at the weekly update here. Some really cool stuff in here that I'm really excited about. Yeah, people are having reading comprehension problems, which I won't go into. I'll try to keep that rant to a minimum. But we're also planning the usual free majors, and next year should bring 4 major updates. Put that into perspective. The pressurization update was a major update. That is kind of the caliber that some of these updates could bring. That could be fantastic. I would say it would probably, I would think fishing would be a major update. I don't think it's enough for a DLC. I think it's too in line with the core gameplay. I think fishing would be a major. They said they're not currently planning more DLCs in 2024. They say they're focusing on quality improvements and highly requested features. Of course, you got your negative Nancys in here that are they're going to be miserable people no matter what. You know, frankly, as far as I'm concerned, the best thing to do is, you know, good criticism, fine. But you got some people who are just like, they have a fetish for being negative. The best thing to do is just ignore them. You know, that's the thing. And at the end of the day, this is not our game. This is the devs' game. Period. They made it. We didn't make it. We're just playing. We own a copy of it. We're playing it. We do have access to the copy. But at the end of the day, you know, I think the best games are the ones where they have a vision. They work on their vision. And, you know, if they listen to every person out there, just whatever little this and that, then you're going to have such a friggin' mess of a game that's a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. It's better to kind of have your own vision and, of course, listen to some input, what people want. Of course, you need to do that. But, you know, you still, at the end of the day, as the developer, they need to have the final authority. And that's like, I love Escape from Tarkov's lead dev, Nikita, he's just like, nope, not doing that. Nope, I know you want it, but we're not doing it. That's not the kind of game I'm building. This is the game I'm building. If you want to play, play. If you don't, don't. And I think that's the right attitude to have, because this game is not for everybody. And, you know, the last thing I need to do is thin it out and make it so that it's just another cookie-cutter piece of crap, because it would please more people, you know, and it would... You know, you get a couple people who played for a week. Oh, that was a cool game, and stop playing. That's not who they want. This is a game for people who want to play thousands of hours, you know. And if you want to play for a little bit, great. But this is kind of the core audience. So how's it going there, Variante? What's up? Not much, Zachy. Just doing some testing here and there. All right, so what did I need to test? Okay, autopilot stuff. I'm going to bring up my list. I have a list. I'll bring that up. I actually went in and did a list. I was fighting the list for a while there. Find the list. All right, so autopilot. Change train falling greater than 7. I did that. Auto stop is the next thing. So the reason why we hit the bottom there is, like I said, we took a really hard turn. And when we took the hard turn, I don't allow the autopilot to give us enough pitch to overcome that. So we need to do a little autopilot work if I can find the frickin' thing. Is that basics engine? That's pressure regulator, depth hold, thrust, depth, bearing panel, padded seat, thrust control. What? Do I have 2 thrust controls on here? Thrust control we. Okay, I have 2 of these, so one of them can go. What? Where is it? Thrust control we. Okay, this is it right here. Just make sure this isn't connected to anything. It isn't. Okay, that can go. And then I just need to replace it with some block for now. We'll put a microcontroller there later. I had a duplicate there. All right, good. That's in. Let's go ahead and I need to let's fix this typo before it annoys me. Thrust controller. That's better. That's the English language we all know and love. Let's see. Where the hell is the autopilot? I could find it by looking at the bearing. There it is, heading hold. All right, good. So heading hold here. It's a little bit aggressive. So I need to cut the aggression down on it a little bit. It's using... It should be using. Is it not? Okay, I thought it was using the angular speed. Is it not using the angular speed? Okay, it's not angular speed controlled, so that's probably just a high P value. Try that. Knock the P value down a little bit. So that's final. That actually I want at 1. Because this is also my own steering. Let's go. Let's go 1.5 on that. So that will slow it down so it doesn't do that craziness. All right, so what I want to do is when when I get within a certain distance of the point, I want the autopilot to, I want the engines to stop. I don't want it to circle. I want the engines to stop, so that will allow me to go AFK. And when I get to the waypoint, it will stop the craft. So that's ideally what I want. So I need to put that in the thrust controller, or I need to move the thrust controller, which is a pain in the ass, but I'll do that. That should fix that element to make it a little less sensitive on turning. Alright, let's go back to my thing here. So auto stop needs to go in. Auto ballast, I don't know what I'm going to do with auto ballast, if I'm going to do it. Put a limiter so it goes back to depth hold if depth hold is train full, and that is done. Ballast, put in variability, put in fuel correction until I need to do that. Exterior, refuel and anchor nav lights. Interior life support, airlock, fix equalization. Bridge, emergency battery and emergency blow. Engineering may need 2 air tank, only need 2 air tanks for engine. Okay, so let's see. Auto stop. Let's work on it. I need to realign some of these panels, which is going to be a pain in the ass. But where's this throttle controller? There. That's light dimmer. Here's the throttle controller. Right, there's the seat. So I'll go seat, throttle panel to here. And so this is going to have to talk to the... the autopilot, the heading hold. Let's see, I need to move some of the stuff around here. Engine pressure regulator. Stepped under keel correction. This really, what's that? Okay, that's fine. That's the that's one of my monitors. It's not a big deal to move a bunch of this crap, but I'm just trying to minimize ripping stuff out. All right, let's go ahead and I'm gonna rip this out here. All right. Try not to put microcontrollers on the outside anymore. Kind of at that stage where I don't want to be doing that crap anymore. Let's go like that. All right. All right, let's go ahead and... So I need to put in some stuff in this thrust controller here because let's actually, before we do that, let's leave that. I want to finally work on the center section of this panel. So currently I just use the seat. I want to use the seat or this panel. So I'm trying to decide what all these are going to be. I might not even put all of them in there. I probably will, but let's see. Thrust. Let's work on this thrust controller here. So this is going to be... Thrust plus okay, this will be here. Thrust minus. Okay, this will be an arrow button. It'll be push. It'll be up, vertical. If we click on the right one, up, push 1. All right, good. Then we have, I don't know what I want that to be yet. This is going to be, we'll number it though. It's not going to be 1, it'll be 5. All right, this will be, actually we could do, I could do enunciators and emergency panel. Let's do that. So let's keep this, we'll do this 1 through. So 1, let's see how much I need. I'm probably going to need more than that. I'm going to try to keep it over here. Let's see if I can do enunciators, emergency stuff. All right, let's see. 2. We'll work on 2 later. Thrust. Minus. Okay, there's going to be an arrow button down. All right. I'm going to have to work on the numbering. I might be putting in some bar segments, but I don't know yet. I push thrust down. I can just do thrust and 0. I kind of like the analog look of it, so let's do that. Let's do a gauge here. Gauge. So this will be thrust percentage. Negative 100, positive 100. All right, that would be 2. Make it simple. This will be 3. That will be going down. And then I want 0. 0 thrust. All right, that will 0 the thrust. So that'll be a button. That'll be a push. That'll be 4. All right, so I can do it from the seat or I can do it from here. Let's go additive paint, black, zing. Let's go. I haven't done any of my coloration on that, so that'll be just a secondary thrust I can do here, or I can do it on the seat itself. And then that will zero thrust. I also have that as space bar. That will show our thrust forward or back. All right, good. So that's pretty good. I might limit the reverse speed. I don't know if I want to limit the reverse speed. Let's see what Rasmus has to say. Yeah, I kind of like that was another thing I saw in that weekly update was people like they were a bunch of nonsense, but it was like they were talking about, oh, you know, just you know, keeping it, you know, quiet or not telling us what it is, and it's like this. It's like, dude, you know, isn't it nice to get surprised with a cool feature every once in a while, man? I love that. That's fun, you know. Just like, come on, man, just freaking relax, man, enjoy life. Oh, yeah. The train wheels just popping up, yeah. Yeah, I haven't played with those. I actually started playing with them a little bit after I did the Steam tutorial, but I haven't got into that train stuff much. All right, so that's going to be pretty... That's that. Maybe enunciators, and I might put emergency stuff there. We'll see. So I need to blow this panel up. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to go... This takes the seat... I need to renumber this again, but we'll go seat to here. Then I can't come back. Shit. It doesn't matter. I have plenty of space. I'm not worried about space. So let's go ahead and blow this sucker up a little bit. I was concerned about space, but I don't need to be. All right, that's going to be... I can take it off the autopilot. Okay, so let's go composite input AP. Okay. Now, where did I put that? Let's see. Bearing. Let's do that. All right, let's find the heading hold here. Heading hold. The helm comes into the heading hold, and then let's look at heading hold really quickly here. Heading hold doesn't go anywhere. All right, the bearing panel comes in here, so if I could read out of here, we'd be good for the heading hold. If I read out heading hold, we're good. Keypad, rudders, systems, bearing panel. Let's quickly check the bearing panel here. I'm trying to work my daisy chain magic here. Eventually I'll find bearing panel. Oh, bearing panel can actually grow then probably. 2 heading hold, AP panel, monitor touch, physics sensor. Let's go add a node here. Okay. Come in the heading hold here. That should allow me to get rid of the helm. What am I reading? I'm reading 1 node off the helm, so that will help. Okay. And I'm only reading 1 node off the helm, which is pitch. No, it's rudders. Okay, that's rudders. Okay. Reading rudders off the helm. So I just need to code that in. So what we'll do here is the bearing panel should be coming from here to heading hold, and so what we need to do is write that out. So let's go ahead and we'll grab the helm. Helm will now come in through the bearing panel. I need to write it out somewhere on here. So what are we writing out here? This is writing out 18. I need to write out a helm feature here. Where's my distance? Distance is here. Distance is going to be 19. Let's go try reading out 20. What is over here? Physics sensor. I need to make sure physics sensor. I don't think physics sensor does go up to 20, but let's check it. Physics sensor can... I doubt it goes up to 20. No, it's 17. That's why I made it 18. Okay, perfect. So that will work. Let's go ahead in here. Alright, so we're going to code this out as 20. So helm, I'm going to just read number 1. It's going to go off to there. Yep, it's going to go off to there on 20. So now this goes to heading hold. And so I can get rid of helm now. So we're going to read off of the bearing panel here. We're going to read 20. That's going to take the place of this. Okay. Helm can go adieu. Right there. Okay, that's now good. So let's get rid of helm on here. Good. We don't need that anymore. All right, good. So we'll update that. And then that needs to work into the thrust panel. So let's see where this is. So we want to take the bearing panel in right here. Okay, the bearing panel. So this is the thrust controller seat, bearing panel here. So what we want to do is we want to take in the bearing panel. And I'm going to probably need to code out some other stuff here. And that will allow me to get rid of seat. I don't really need to get rid of seat now, but now it won't let me get rid of seat. So that will be bearing panel comes in. Okay, let's see. Update this. So what I'm trying to do here is when we get within a certain distance of the waypoint. So right here is distance. Distance is going to be 18. Distance is 18. Distance is nope. Distance is 19. Distance is 19. And that's in nautical miles. All right, so in the distance, 19. And I'm going to need to read. Bump it also up there. So when this is less than AP auto stop. I think 0.1 nautical miles. What is it? 5264 is statute miles, so it doesn't really matter. Times 0.1, 526 feet. So that's not bad. It's a pretty good distance. We'll run with that. Okay, so that's good there. Right here is the trigger on the seat. And we'll just take a bool. Try not to use oars anymore. It's just that if I get another one, I have to delete it anyways. X row. W. Okay, good. So that will go there, or I think we'll have one gap there. There. Okay, that's good. So what this is going to do is when we get within 0.1 nautical miles of the waypoint, it's going to automatically zero our thrust. All right, so that will be good. So instead of me doing that turn and I just circle the waypoint, it should stop us. So we're going to update that. This needs to be bearing panel here. So where's bearing? Right there. That can go there. Check all this. What do we at here for space now? That is motors. We need motors. Bearing. Micro and seat. We need all that stuff. Okay. And then we have another node in case I want to do something, which we're going to need. We're going to need something here. So let's see. Crap. All right. I'm going to need another slot on top of that too. So. Okay, so we want to go. This goes out to the panels. Panel. Deposit input. Panel. All right, good. Let's go in here. All right, so let's go ahead. We want to read on off 1. Okay, and then we want to read 3. So this way we can control from either the panel or there. So I want to give myself a little bit of space here. I'll grab bool. All right, so now this will let us do both. So we'll do, if the threshold is 1, or we press 1, we'll go ahead and that will give us the okay, and then we have, if it's -1, that will go, nope, wrong one. Shit, already. I'm already screwing this up. All right, those two are good. All right. So that's going to be there, and then this one here is we need another bool. Okay. All right, so that will set it up so that we can use either the keypad on the dash, or we can use that. And then 4 is going to come in here. So panel, we need 4. One of the reasons why I do the thresholds now for all of my engine stuff is it's just I likely am going to change it to be likely if I add a panel, it's just a piece of cake to add the panel. So okay, so that is good there. So that's all my 0 conditions there. All right, and then we need to read the panel out. We're just reading out thrust setting. So that's this. So that's going to be 2. We want to write 2. One more over. There we go. Write 2. And then I actually need a function on this because I'm doing percentage because I got to be a weirdo. All right, that's good there. All right, so that should work up for the new thrust panel there. Let's hook it all in. So panel and out. All right. Could jazz it up a little bit, but I don't think I need to. What is there? What is this? What did I hope I didn't screw something up. What was this? I'm curious what that was. Let's quickly save this and see what the hell that was before I screw something major up that I need to deal with. Okay, that was always a gap? That's weird. Nope, that is the engine pressure regulator. For some reason it doesn't show. For some reason it did this before. If I get in the right spot, it doesn't show. So that's all it was. Okay. It's weird. That one is weird. That does that. See, it's back. Right there, back. All right, that's the engine pressure regulator there. Got a slot. I can move anything around. It's not a big deal, but I'm trying not to have to move too much. I'll cut right here. Stick that in there. All right, so that's mostly set up. Let's check, make sure it's 100% set up. All right, that should work. All right, let's get this in here. All right, we can go to all the way up here. So by the fridge, pretty much. Yep, right there at the fridge. All right. All right, so... All right, good, that's done. All right, good, so that is now set. So that should control that. How's it going there, FS? Good to see you back. All right, let's see, what else we need to do? So auto stop, we'll test it right now. So this should auto stop when it gets within like 500 feet of the waypoint. You know, in an airplane, I want this to circle, you know, because you're not stopping. Helicopters, I'll usually stop. Airplanes, I don't want to stop when they hit the waypoint. You know, they need to circle it, and they have plenty of air, space in the air to just circle it. So, right, currently that's 481 meters, so that's plenty of space to test this out. All right, we'll actually thrust up with this. There we go. That's giving me my percentage of thrust, either fore or aft. There's 100% thrust. And when we get within 500 feet, it's about a third of that meters. So 1 something. And there it is. So about 160 meters, it's going to zero us out. I might change. I'm going to make that number smaller, but you see it's 0 to the thrust, and then we can overcome it if we want. Once we shut off the autopilot. So. And if we turn the autopilot back on, it kills it. Okay, good. So that will stop us instead of circling, because I don't want it circling. You know, I want it to stop. So that way I can go AFK and it doesn't burn fuel while it sits. You know, still it'll leave the generator on, but the generator barely burns any fuel when the electric motors aren't going for the engines. That's good. That's working. That can be ticked off. Always nice to have a checkbox. All right, refueling anchor. This is important to refuel the engines. And it could be, I don't think it's going to be too much of a problem. I think I can find space for that to come out, so, theoretically. So I need to find a place this can come up and go out. So it can go anywhere in here where the fueling for the engine goes. I just need to find, probably right here, maybe. That's right in the bathroom, too. The bathroom's getting a lot of the duty here for giggity. Bathroom getting duty. Let's see. Okay, right there is the fuel tank. So, but that's one fuel tank. I don't have a valve, so I can fill both fuel tanks like that. Yeah, I can fill both fuel tanks like that, so let's see. Ooh, we might be able to do it. Can I do it here? I might be able to do it there. No, I can't do that, but that's why I wish. One thing I would love to see is this fluid port with a selectable where it goes. So, for example, put the fluid port like this, and okay, I don't want the port in the back, I want it on the bottom. So let me have a 90-degree fluid port where this port's on the bottom. That's it. 90-degree fluid port, because then what I could do is stick this here and then port it in. I don't need to, because I already need one space in front of the fluid port, and I need one behind it. Same thing for hose anchors. So you have a hose anchor, which is what I want to put in here. You know, put a 90-degree on all your anchors like this, so that now I can put it down there. So that's what I would like. Please, devs. Okay, it can go right here, though, I think. Right here, I think it can go. Nope, not right there. Crick and crack. Let's see. Find a place to put this here. This, I think we could have gone middle, I thought. Right here can go, I think. Yeah, I think we're gonna be all right under here. No, not yet. Yeah, this will work. Okay. All right, nice. And then I think right there is shit. We're gonna hit wedge here at some point and get screwed. We're gonna hit a wedge there and get screwed. Unless I can go through the cabinet. Gorgeous. I think I can go through the cabinet. Can I? Let me look. All right. Need to find a path to the fuel, sir. Ah, I'm one off the cabinet. If the cabinet was one further, I could go through the cabinet. Sucky. Alright, let's see. What about here? That's a wedge. I wedge out really quickly, which is a pain in the ass. Right there. I'm so close right here. The problem is I wedge out right here. That's where it comes up, and I need to get to here. I can't go into the door. Farts on that. We're close, but I might need to put one visible pipe. I'm trying to keep to a minimum. I can't put it here because I can't turn down. Suck. That sucks. Let's see. What is this? The door. All I need, like I said, is that one angle piece. It's going to end up in the bathroom, probably. Not the end of the world, but it would have been slick if I could put it somewhere slick, you know? I don't want to put it underwater. I don't know. We'll see where I want to put it here. That's the problem, is you start liking the shape of your build, too, and this is, you know, you don't want to change it up. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna have to. I'd have to report that. That's not worth doing. All right, because my ports come down here. Go in this cabinet if I need to, but I don't think I need to here. Let's see. We're gonna go under the floor here. This is fuel here. What's above here? That goes into an angle block there. This is where the air is. Let's see if I can go this side. I might be able to come up here. Let's try for here. This is going to be my best bet. I can make this pipe symmetrical here. So that's what I'll do. What was that deleted? Looked like deleted more than it should have. Nope, it's fine. Okay. So that goes like that. All right. So we'll be able to put it right here. All right. That's fuel right there. Beautiful. All right. Not exactly how I want, but I already have a pipe in here, so it's going to look the same. It's just going to be symmetrical. You know, especially in a submarine, you kind of expect to see some pipe sticking out. That's not the end of the world. All right, that is going to fill my fluid there. So that's the refueling section there. Diesel bill right there. Give me the color that I asked for there, guy. Alright. Alright, good. So that is all set up there. So this is a different color down there. Splash color down there. Alright, good. So refueling anchor is in. Can refuel our tanks now. I don't vent the tanks. I'll vent. Yeah, I should be venting these tanks here. Let's vent them. It's easy to do. I'm going to do it right here. So the tanks are going to get a vent here. Vent it right in here. Give it some nice exhaust fumes right into the engine room. Not that you'd have to worry about that with diesel. The diesel's not all that volatile, so it's not gonna ignite. You need a lot of pressure to ignite diesel anyway. So that's good. Make sure that's correct. Yep, that should be good there. This block worries me. I just want to double check it. It's working, but okay, it's good. All right, so that is that's in. So checked another thing off the old list, which is always a good feeling. Nav lights. I'm trying to decide what I want to do with nav lights. If I want them. Heater. I need to put that in here. Interior heater. Put that on the list. Adding things to the list is never good. Can't put a white light on here for shit. Can't put a white light on here, so that's kind of gross. Do I even nav light this sucker? I might not nav light this. Kind of a, kind of a stealthy looking submarine. I don't need nav lights. I'll consider it later, but I don't really need them. I can't put a white light either if I do that. So, all right. Let's see. Fix equalization I need to. Let's see if I can plumb in emergency blow valve. So the... Let's see. I'm trying to put in... First thing I want to put in here is... let's move this. This is just the keep active block there. Let's move that. I put in a second tank in here that... So, I was talking about this before. Again, it makes sense with pressure. If you have one tank, right, and you want to cram in 60 atmospheres of pressure in it, right? Let's say they're equal size tanks. You know, it's going to be harder on the motors. The motors are trying to push all that extra... They're trying to push against that extra atmosphere. If you have two equal-sized tanks and you put in the same amount of air in, it would be two tanks at 30 atmospheres because you have double the space. And so by increasing the number of tanks, so I have a medium and a small in here now to pull the air out of the ballast. It makes it so that... actually didn't need to do that. It makes it so that the... ballast will come in quicker because I can suck the air out faster because I'm not having to fight the pressure so much. So we're going to put one more battery in here. I doubt that screws with my mass too much. Very minor. What's my mass here? 5542. All right, so this is going to be my emergency battery. So this is my emergency backup battery. All right, so just going to put a circuit breaker on here. And this is the emergency backup battery. So in the event that, let's say, I actually did the test yesterday where I went all the way to the, you know, I did that long test. I was down at 260 meters when I ran out of fuel. And it automatically floated me back up to the surface, which was beautiful. Just goes right back up to the surface. But I was down to 30% battery because once I run low on fuel, the engine is not as powerful and it starts slowing down. And so I got down to 30% battery, and that's more than enough to, all I have to do is pump out and flip the valves. Once I stop, I had enough fuel to keep the battery from going down. But what I want to do is, this is an emergency battery, and so this is going to go like this. So we'll go circuit breaker A on this side. We'll go to that battery I just put in the front. And then the B side of this battery is going to go to the battery side of the master breaker. And what that will do is that should give me enough battery that it's going to allow me to be able to... in an emergency, just blow my ballast, because that's the main thing I need. And maybe like go forward a little bit. Say I was stuck under a rock, I can move a little bit, and then that's enough to just blow the ballast tanks, pump the water out, and you know, increase. And all I'm doing is turning two valves to let all the air pressure into the ballast tanks, and then the pumps will very quickly pump out, and that's all I need to surface. So just a quick little emergency battery. So if I ran the batteries, the main batteries down to 0, which is unlikely anyway, it would, you know, it would let me surface in emergency. So that's what that's all about. Here, I'm gonna move. No, I'm gonna move that. Okay, we're good. All right, so that is emergency batteries in there. Let's check that off the list. Emergency bat is done. So emergency blow, I was thinking of doing. And so what would happen is you need to be able to do the valves. Let's see. I might not do emergency blow because what I'd have to do is I'd have to route from... It would have to be post these valves. It'd have to be here. So I have to go from here all the way up to the bridge. And then put a manual valve in. So I'd have to come up, go into a manual valve, go back down. And then I would have to go all the way back down into the ballast tank and out. So not worth my time to do that. The emergency battery gives me enough electricity that we can do that. I could put an emergency blow down here where it has a short run, but I don't think I'm all that interested in doing it. So I don't think the juice is worth the squeeze. So I'll actually get rid of that. I'm not going to put it in there. Just not worth the time. It's not worth it. It would ruin too much stuff, and all I need is that emergency electric battery. And what I'll actually do is I'm going to move it though. I don't want it in the bow. Let's say we hit something in the bow. This is where all my batteries are, so I'm going to stick in the back. That way it's out of the way, so that if we damage the front, we damage our main electrical supply, we have our backup electric supply. And all I need is just the ability to surface, frankly. Because once we're surfaced, we're good, you know? We can tow it back. We can, theoretically, you know, we call for rescue service, which is no clipping. No clip back. Grab a vehicle, come grab it, drag it back. So that works. I'm not going to screw with the air tanks and the engine. I have more than enough. What I might do, though, is plumb them into life support. Big Man said we need life support. The thing being that I don't really technically, I don't need it. You know, like, I need it for the competition, but I don't actually need it to actually do stuff. Because I don't think I'm building up enough CO2. Let's do a test. I haven't done a test in a while. I'll see if I can actually clean out CO2. So that's part of the this and that of this episode. Is I'm going to be jumping around doing a bunch of different stuff. Gonna go get more coffee, and I have it sitting right next to me. I'm gonna just drop this base plate really quickly, and I'm gonna go test. So the refinery, this is from the tutorial. Please go watch the tutorial at your leisure after the video, and give it a like if you like it. And if you haven't subscribed, subscribe. And so we have dropped below 300 degrees, but by a little. If I drop the valve down a little bit, that should start to recover here in a second. Are we full? We're not full, okay. So you see it's recovering. I'm letting the oil have more time to cook in the furnace. Now, ultimately, I am going to, what I'm going to do is we'll do some live stuff here like this, or we'll do Career Build Series live where I improve this. There's a couple systems I want to add to this. One, PID control. So this is going to be PID controlled. So instead of me coming back to manually control the valve, I went from 19 something to 18%, and the temp went up. Makes sense. The oil is now spending more time in the furnace. It's getting hotter. So this will be ultimately PID controlled. It'll be clamped within a value range, so maybe like 17 to 20, and it will automatically vacillate to maintain the temperature. So we won't have to sit here and watch it. Notice the temp went back down. Not a big deal. It will recover itself. It will come back up. If we look here, we have 4,200 liters of jet fuel. We also have 4,200 liters of diesel. Oh my God, it's a 50-50 split. They're the same number. Makes sense. This should be 100% full pretty much. It's going to be going down gently as the as this is pumping. What I'll probably do is, not that it matters, but I could put an auto slow down and stop on this, but this is free energy. I don't have to worry about this spinning the whole time. It doesn't cause any lag. One thing that I did notice is if you're having the problem where you can't recall this from the workbench, I went over this in the video. When they did the space DLC, there were two things going on one day, and people keep conflating the two of them, space DLC and pressure. The space DLC was the precipitating reason why they changed subgrids. The subgrid, think of it as each subgrid is its own vehicle. They changed it so that the subgrids could go further away from each other so that space would work. The good part about that is, say, for example, Triton. If I spawn a little boat on Triton with Triton, I can now take that boat as far away from Triton as I want. Before, if you spawn them together and you went more than 2 kilometers, it would despawn. There were some certain cases where you could go a little bit further, but about 2 kilometers and it would despawn. That's a good thing. The problem is, if you put 5 vehicles in a workbench, I think 6. If you have 6 vehicles-ish in the workbench, it doesn't want to let you despawn it. It says there's too many vehicles in the workbench, or in the area. Not a big deal with Triton because you can click on each of the thing and despawn them. But the problem is, like, this doesn't want to despawn, so this is, the main section is 1. Then we have the rotor is 2. 3 is the shaft. 4 is this part up here. I think we have 5 total segments, and then I think the pipe counts as 6. So if you go over 6 or 5, depending on if you're counting the pipe or not, it won't let you despawn it. You have to go in the map and you have to click on it and clean up the vehicle, which if you do that in a career game, you're going to lose the money, so just XML it back to yourself. But that's what's going on with that. So as long as you keep that number low enough, like if I put 10 more cranes and shit here, it probably wouldn't let me despawn it. So just keep that in mind. But I want to check on this, make sure we're still cooking. We're cooking. We're up to, we're actually, you can see the temps going back up. So we're good. The PID control, eventually I'll PID control this. This is the other worry. As long as you're, see, we went up to 320. Or we're up, yeah, we're going up to 3. So notice your fraction volume. This is how big the tank is. That's how much oil we have in there. And then you're getting diesel and jet. So once we go over 300, notice the oil goes down. It turns into diesel and jet. So this is running fine. It's going up and down, up and down. And we're putting in so little that we're actually fractioning off enough that we're not going up to our max volume of 1300. One thing I do need to add to this, if this reaches the top volume, right, and we're under 300 degrees, we're never going to go over 300 degrees ever again because we get our temperature from fresh oil. If this fills 100%, we're never going to get any fresh oil in, and this is going to end up just cooling off. And so what I need to do is I need to put a pump. Actually, don't even need a pump. I just need a fluid port, a pipe. The pipe will connect directly here. I'll put a one-way valve so this oil can only go this way, and then it will come out of here and it will recycle. So what you'll do is you'll have a manual valve. You'll come over. If this were to hit 100%, you'd open the manual valve and you'd send it back through, and that would put in essentially a cycling loop. So we'll add that. That will be done in live streams. I'm probably do a quick addition in the oil drilling series. So. What the hell was I going to work on before this? Okay, yeah. Cleaning the air. I was going to clean the air, and then I got sidetracked. ADD, baby. All right, let's click on this base plate. All right, so I want to try... I tried this before to no success. What I want to do is rip out carbon dioxide. So a couple things, I have tried these in the past. I don't think it's going to be possible. You can do it, but it's going to be, it's not impossible, but it's impractical. Let's put it that way. It is pretty damn impractical because the game goes down to, I believe, 10 decimal places. We can see 6 decimal places. And so even though it shows 0 of something in the thing, there's still 4 more decimal places. So you have to get really, 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 really low on the thing to get there. So this is fluid in. Let's take a tank. I'm just going to use tanks because they do spawn with a little bit of CO2 in them. I'm going to put a one-way on this so I can blow it off. I'm going to do a cat. See, the cat, it says exhaust in, exhaust out. So exhaust is its own thing. I had tried before and thought I had success with getting rid of it, putting it through a cat. Let's see if I can make it work here. All right, so this should give us a pressure differential. We have air in here. Let's spawn it. And let's test it. I'm just putting a bunch so that it's overkill. As you notice there, we have 0.6 liters of CO2. I'm going to see if I can get rid of it. All right, so this tank is filling up. Notice the CO2 is going in here. Let's see if we can get rid of all the carbon dioxide. So we are going down on carbon dioxide. We just have 0.12. We're down to 0.11. If you know what I should do is I should use, I can't do a fluid port, damn it. If I did this in a room, the cool thing, another great thing that came with the pressure update is on the liquid, like say the liquid meter, it now has a composite output, and you can read each constituent element of gas. You can also, with a liquid meter, you can read each constituent element of liquid. So I did that in the latest tutorial as well. You can take the liquid from the fraction tower. You can read how much oil, diesel, and jet fuel is in the fraction tower. And I forget our starting number. I think it was 0.6. 0.6. 0.1. So we've got 0.1 CO2 in here. Okay. All right. I don't think this is going to work here. Yeah, it took general. It took the general. I bet if I did it, it would be the same percentage. I have an idea as well. Let's try something. Alright, so these are directional, as you can see. Exhaust only goes one direction. So let's try something here. I'm going to put them backwards. Because what I would love to see is if CO2 was considered exhaust, we could then use a cat as a CO2 scrubber, essentially. All right, so this is just not letting any flow through, which makes sense. They're singular, one direction is all they are. Right, let's try something. I think I might have seen something there for a second, so let's check something. I want to really kind of look at the numbers here. All right, let's look at our starting value, 0.6. You might actually be getting rid of some. So there's 0.6 CO2. I'm going to write down all these numbers. It's going to be a pain in the ass, but you know what I'm going to do? Screenshot. Screenshot. All right, good. Let's open this valve. All right, this is just preventing backflow so that it will go through. And then once they equalize in pressure, it shouldn't go through anymore. All right, got good flow rates going through. So we had 0.6 to start with. What I'm going to do is I'm then going to add up both of these and see if we lost any CO2 in the transfer. If we do that, what we'll do is put a recirculator where it just pumps through this constantly, and essentially, hopefully each route through, it's deleting a little bit of carbon dioxide. So I need to get it to stop, but that's good there. We'll just close the valve, let it kind of equalize itself out there. So this is just passing through here. These are one ways, so they're just continually passing a little bit through. You notice, like there, we can see 2 decimal places. Here we can see the 6 decimal places. My understanding is there's still 4 decimal places after that, so like it might seem like you're completely out of something, but you might have 4, which is, you know, inconsequential amount. All right, so we started with 0.6, and it looks like we're down to 0.21. So it looks like we did lose 0.4 liters of CO2. So that looks promising. Okay. That looks promising. So what I want to do here is now, it doesn't need to be this extreme with this many cats. What I would think is the more cats you have, the faster it's going to go. Because each one is filtering a little bit each time. That's why I have a ton just for the test. Right. I also wondering if the longer it sits in there, the better chance it has to clear some out. But this is the kind of cool stuff that just being able to move stuff with air, man, is a cool thing. Pneumatics is awesome. Love it. All right, so we're going to run this test now. I need a Toggle. Just going to run infinite electricity is fine. All right, so starting value there is 0.6 as usual. Let's give it a run. Looks like we're dropping CO2 out precipitously. Down to 0.05. Well, that's just reading what this is. I have no way to tell what's in the line, so that's actually not correct. All right, so this test is a little bit flawed because I'm not going to be able to read what's in the line. So all that CO2 theoretically could be hiding in the lines, and that could be not reading correctly. So let's go. I don't need the valve anymore, but I'm going to leave it there just for funsies. So really, we need a clean tank, and we're going to use the pump to pressurize it. So I want to get every last bit of air out of there and here. And if we can do that, we know that it's working. So, all right. It was always 0.6. Hopefully, I didn't screw it up, but 0.6. We'll test it again if maybe. All right. So CO2 is all the way out, and we're completely out of air. And if you notice here, our CO2 is down. So let's check what's in here. So we still have some air stuck in here. We're pushing it through. Hopefully the CO2 is not all stuck in there. It was at 0.6 last time. It is now at 0.14. So that would be as though we were sucking it from in the room and pushing it back out. So we'll do a quick test inside a pressure tank. But it's looking pretty promising there. Yeah, that looks pretty promising so far. I'm going to do another quick test run. Don't need that. These pumps work as valves, so we don't need a valve. Just use the pump as a valve. How many do I have on there? Let's see. Let's do a 1. And we'll see what 1 does for us. Put an empty tank here. So this would simulate a cycle. All right, I'm gonna keep a real cautious look of numbers. The numbers are coming up the same. I already took a screenshot of this. So 0.6 is the CO2. We want to get rid of CO2. So, all right, so we're looking for our first pass. Oh, fuck. Let's do this. I want to get rid of this too. I don't need the valve. It's just add an extra step that I have to do. And let's merge that. Okay, good. This should be no air. This should be none. Okay, good. So this would be like I'm doing 2 passes and... All right, so last time it was 0.14 on the first run through. Because if we keep recirculating it, theoretically we're going to be ditching CO2 each run through. So we're going to do it in a room next. Let's see what I can do. All right, so that's 0 now. We'll wait till this completely stabilizes. You notice the stored gas liters per second, how much is coming in is going down because we're starting to get the last couple marbles. So, you know, you're trying to just bring those last couple marbles in, and the pressure is going up in the tank, so it's hard to get those marbles in. So we'll let it stop here in a second. As I did, you know, I think it's pretty much confirmed at this point. I do need to check. Let's bring up that screenshot I took. I want to make sure we didn't lose some of the other gases in this process. We could have done that too, which is not good. That defeats the friggin' purpose, so that is highly possible as well. So I need to bring that screenshot up and see what this looks like. All right, so yeah, look, I think we're dumping a ton of air. Scheiße. That's not good. Okay, if that's the case, that's not doing what we need here. So let's see. So we had, let's see, nitrogen was 1186 and oxygen was 315. 1186, 315. Yeah, we dumped a ton of other gases. Yeah, that's it. Just deletes. It's deleting gases. Not gonna work. Yeah, we're losing an overall linear percentage. It looks like of what was in there. So that's no bueno at all. That's really bad, actually. Don't want to be doing this. We're just deleting all the gases in the room, and somehow magically they came back. Okay, so what you know what it's doing? It's trapping the gases. It's trapping all of the gases inside the cats. The cats are trapping gases. That's all it's doing. So let's try to add them together. So let's confirm that hypothesis that the cats here are trapping gases. So we have 3 of these tanks. Let's just do this. Tank. Grab a large tank. This should be more than enough to take all the gas. We're going to go to 0 on this one. This should confirm it. If we can push all this through and then get the same quantity in here, it's doing nothing, which is what I'm thinking it's doing. Because I tested before and then came to this conclusion, and I thought they might have done a sneaky. But let's look at we'll just look at nitrogen right now, 1186, and carbon dioxide 0.6. So this was at what did it start at? 60? No, I don't know what it started out with atmospheres, but it's essentially it's trapping it in here. And so what was happening is these are counting as little tanks. And so you have this one tank was fitting in this tank, but it was also fitting in this tank and this tank and this tank and this tank and this and this one. And so it was these are acting like little tanks just storing some air. Now, normally the way you're using a cat in game is you're spinning out as at the end of an exhaust port. But notice our pressure is lower. Instead of 1186, we're at 288, and then we're at 7670. So it looks like we've lost some carbon dioxide, nitrogen, and oxygen. I think what it's doing is just sitting in here. Because then when I turn this on, this is empty. Right, this can hold a ton. This is going to pull everything out. So if we get back to the original start numbers, all that's telling me is that we're storing it. Look at our carbon dioxide is actually higher now. What the fuck? What the hell, man? How am I making? I'm making gas. Look at that. I'm making gas. I've made gas, people. I've made it. How am I making gas? So this is not really great. I'm making gas. We started out with 1186 nitrogen. That was the only nitrogen that was, it could be stored in the cats though. Let's not jump to that conclusion that I'm making gas. That's probably actually a wrong conclusion. I think what's more likely is that that the cats actually store some gas. So we'll do a test. We'll see if cats store gas, because that would be my hypothesis, is the cats store gas. So you notice we're up to 2022, 2023 and change. Okay, let's say it's 2023. So let's see, 2023 minus 1186. It's 837. So let's say there's 837 units of gas inside of the cats we have here, plus the last one. All right. So what we'll do to test that hypothesis is this. This will get dragged to 0. This will be 0. This one will be 0. And then I'm going to see if I can suck some gas out of these cats. if I can suck gas out of the cats, then it is a, it's not making gas. What it is doing is there is gas trapped in the cats. And then, which makes sense, right? You would have to pre-fill these. You know, if you notice with the fuel tanks, they're putting 1 atmosphere of gas in the fuel tanks. I think the devs were having problems where if they put a vacuum, the game doesn't know what to do with a vacuum, which wouldn't surprise me. Doesn't, you know, that makes sense to me. And so these are probably not vacuums. These probably have some gas stored in them. So if we look at the test here, we have 0 atmospheres. Let's pump. This should have 0. That should have nothing in it. This should have nothing in it. If we start getting gas, likely there's gas spawned in the cats. Appears not, though. So we were storing gas in the cats when we pumped through. So the cats are not spawning with gas in them. But we're making CO2 somehow. So that's a little bit bonkers. I don't get that. Doesn't mean... It could be something perfectly reasonable that I just don't understand yet. Again, I'm not gonna say that something is wrong just because I don't understand it. So we'll see. But I'm trying to pump through here, and there is no gas initially stored in the cats. The other thing that wouldn't surprise me is if you're putting air through the cats, if it's turning some of it into CO2 to simulate exhaust. So, yep, that's cat farts trapping gas in there. All right, so this was the other thing that people have been testing. This makes sense. I tried this myself some. We'll test it again to see what's up, is centrifugal separators. Because the whole thought process of this is you're taking a fluid in. The least dense fluid will go out one port, and the most dense fluid will go out another port. They're very large, though. They're most cases this is going to be absolutely useless to me because it's just too big for this. But I'm curious. What the fuck? Oh, it's not actually on the base. It's like, why is this not pasted? And it was a couple blocks up. Right there. All right, let's do a motor. Yeah, this is just too large for that. I put in a feature request already for some sort of carbon scrubber to scrub out CO2. And what my idea, which I think would be actually kind of cool, is you could manually with your hands pull coal out, and maybe you could even do a thing where it had a dump on it, where it would dump it into a hopper, and you could actually suck the carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere and stop global warming and go sell the coal. That would be kind of a cool thing. You could have a facility that would do it. So here's fluid in. All right, there's a tank. This is going to be the fluid out. Fuck, it's on the side again. All right, and this here is fluid out, and this is dense fluid out. So here is fluid out. Here is dense fluid out. And this one's going to be full of air. All right, so theoretically, let's bring a periodic table. So if we look at the periodic table here, this is filled with, we'll go into carbon dioxide in a second. It's carbon bonded to its dioxide, 2 oxygens. So I'd have to check molecular masses. But we have nitrogen here. We have nitrogen, we have oxygen. Those are in there. And then we're running carbon dioxide in there as well. So we have the different densities here. So moving left will be less dense. For masses there, because carbon dioxide, let's find the molar mass of CO2. Molar mass of CO2 is 78 grams for what? Molar mass. We'll do it by AMU. So grams per mole. It's 44 grams per mole. Let's see, molar mass of O2. Yeah, it's bonded, so it's going to be an O2. It's got to be an O2. So 15. So carbon dioxide makes sense, right? It's carbon dioxide. You have O2 is two oxygens, and then you have a carbon bonded to it, so you should have the carbon essentially sitting on top of it. Is it double covalent bond, CO2? Let me see. CO2 diagram. Let's see what the friggin' I want to see it. Yeah, it looks like double bonded like that, double covalent bond. Okay. Yeah, so that makes sense. I didn't have display capture on. God damn it. I just noticed it too, and then I saw citruses. I knew somebody would chat it up. It was not all that interesting what I was doing. Periodic table went through oxygen, nitrogen, carbon. Carbon is a molar mass of carbon is 12, but then if you do CO2, which is 44, which makes sense because you're taking a 12 and then you take O2, molar mass is going to be 15, right? So you have O2 plus the carbon. I don't know where we're getting the extra one. It should be one carbon bonded to two oxygens. So I don't know why the molar mass is more than be 16, 18, and 28. I don't know. Doesn't make sense to me. But anyways, I'll do one more. I'm skipping the last constituent element instead of doing a proper test here. So let's do nitrogen. Nitrogen should be by itself on a molar level. So 28. So that makes sense. Should be O2, nitrogen, because the oxygen is bonded essentially in there, so it should be bonded. So it should be oxygen. Nitrogen should probably spin first, I would say. Really, it should be carbon dioxide should spin. It's going to be the heaviest, but I don't think they're doing their molecular masses correctly, unless I'm not, which is possible. Sorry about clearing my throat into the mic. So we have 0.24 here. We're going to be spinning out something. So let's see what we spin. Okay, so this is leaky. This is a leaky sucker. Notice it leaked through. Yeah, that leaked through, which is not what I wanted. So I got to put in some valves to keep this from leaking. So let's go. Alright, so that is air there. We have air, and air are sealed there. Those are one ways so they can't just push back into the separator. Fucking Jesus. Ugh, didn't merge anything, did I? Alright. Let's get this spun up. Alright, this is spinning at 19. These are empties. Empty. This is full. Let's spin it. Are we spinning? Yeah, this is not spinning anything out. Let's see. Nitrogen 5. Okay, this is working to a certain extent. Look, nitrogen is at 595. so it spun out the nitrogen. We have no CO2 in here. And we have O2 nite. And we have carbon dioxide O2 nite here. So what we'll do is this. I know a bunch of people would absolutely hate it, but I would love to see like a chemistry update, man. The ability to make some compounds would be cool. Like you have a little facility, you want to make nitrous oxide to boost your engines, do that. You know, like that. You know, we have it to a tiny extent with the being able to make hydrogen now. I think super cool. You know, that's super cool, but, you know, I would love to see it extended. The problem is, like, you know, some of us who, like, really like that minutia and detail and stuff, that would be great, but for some people, it bore them to tears. You know, so you kind of have to, balance it. All right. It's pre-vent. That's why. Okay. That's pre-vent. We'll put a one-way on here. Okay. Now we'll flow restrict it so it can't go through yet. Okay, that's holding pressure. Spool. Alright, so this should be getting all the CO2 on this side. So. It'll probably work, but this thing is F-word massive, dude. Look at the size of this thing. Like, even if I put a small motor on it, like, this would be fine for a big, cool submarine or something. Like, you could do something like that, but this is absolutely enormous. So we have 0.13 carbon dioxide in here. It looks like it's going to be cycling through 0.9. We getting any more pressure? Or are we just clogged at this point? All right, O2 nitrogen. So we were able to spin out just oxygen and nitrogen, which makes sense. The carbon dioxide should be the most dense. That should go. And then the rest we can attribute to just slippage. So I was able to get rid of all the carbon dioxide. It's all on the right side. This is just nitrogen, oxygen. So that's piss of good. I do have a 1 oxygen mask in there, so that is life support to a certain extent. So I do meet the criteria. I also can vent in from my engine room. I know other people have tested. I like to test this stuff myself. I remember it better that way, but I'm curious. I think the lack of oxygen kills you, not the carbon dioxide in game. So as long as I have some extra supply of oxygen, we should be good. But I am able to spin out the carbon dioxide. No carbon dioxide is getting in here. So that is working. So that's interesting. Yeah, that is interesting. So I'm not getting any... see, the problem is I don't think this is flowing through, though. Let's add one thing before I call this an interesting and successful test. Pressurize this line. I should have put that in a different position. That pump should be pumping right into the centrifuge to keep it from backflowing. It's gonna be able to keep some in that storage tank on the right side, but no CO2. The CO2 is either going to be over here, or it's more of it's going to be over here. Makes sense. So this is going away generally, which is good. So this works. It's just huge. It's working. It's just huge. Absolutely enormous. And it's going to be very hungry on power. Alright, gas separator, we'll save that. So let's see. Let's see what else I want to do. Gotta get off here in a little bit, but I got a little bit of time. I think some other cool stuff to do. Let's do a little bit of cooling testing. So we're in the arid biome. So I'm going to do a little bit of something that I noticed that might be interesting. So currently the electric radiators are working boss. You know, I showed you my test rig the other day. It's a 3x3 4-cylinder pushing a large electric generator at a 3-to-1 gear ratio, 30 RPS going to that, and it is with 4 radiators. I'm very easily able to cool it with. I probably do with 3 if I get the flow rates up a little bit. I don't think I've even tested it with 3, but 4 I know works. It works overkill. It's just like they never have to turn on. They go on, off, on, off, on, off. That's what they do because they're working so effectively. So type that in while you typing stuff in there, guy. Lost my place. Where the hell was I? Right here. They really need to go back and do a cooling pass here, just to make sure it's all working correctly. Because like, I hate metas, and it's like we get 5x5 radiator. That's the go-to for everything. I hate the metas. Like, you know, they have. You know, I'll say the same thing I said the other day. Go up here. Just don't rebuild your huge ships and huge builds and all that. Go up here. Just shut off engine overheating if you're having issues with like seawater cooling. I would say they're going to address it sometime soonish. They've been doing a good job getting through these things. It's going to happen soonish probably. Just kind of relax, man. And but you know, the nice thing with seawater cooling gave you the go-to for ships with seawater cooling. It was better than electric radiators. You're going into land vehicles, electric radiators. I would like to see air cooling have a buff where air cooling has a good use. You know, each type should have its benefits and drawbacks, and certain machines that are best utilized with that. You know, for example, air-to-air cooling should be absolutely boss up in the Arctic. You know, heat sinks should be used on a lot of boats. This is what they should be using. Freshwater heat sinks. That's what I have on some of my tugboats. That is what they should be using. So one thing I was checking here was trying to check ambient heat, because these are ambiently moving before. I don't see them doing it now. Okay, so see this one? This is what's funky weird. Not funky weird. It makes sense, but this is what I would look at the moment. So this radiator is going nowhere. It's full of liquid. I'm not moving it, so it's not going anywhere. This one is liquid, same thing. This one, Has no liquid spawned in it. I know it has 90 liters, but nothing's moving. So these three, none of them moving liquid. So, and this one won't show its temperature. This one here is a air liquid heat exchanger. Nothing's going on here. If you looked, the temperature came down, likely just coming to ambient. Let's see. This one's at 94. That one's at 93. 29. 93. 93. So this one changed. So this one dropped some temp. So some of these I was noticing they're passively losing temperature as they're sitting. I know some were passively gaining temperature, coming up to temp, which makes sense if we know what the temperature is here. So let's go ahead and do that. What do we have for temp probes on most of these? Okay, we do. All right. So I want to get into a new cooling tutorial. I think they're going to make some changes soon. So I'm not really champing at the bit to do it. Like some of the other tutorials, they made perfect sense to do right away. I think some of these things that are just like hard not working right now, that one doesn't have it, does it? No. Are just like hard not working right now is best, I don't think, to do a tutorial right off the bat because it's likely something's going to change soonish. And again, there's no point in just, you know, changing a bunch of builds or showing people how to change their builds to then have them change them back in a week, you know. So next week is update week, so I would think that if we were to get a change on some of those, they have been in the bug tracker, so likely that would be when that would change. So I wouldn't really jump to do it at the moment. So all the left ones here are going to be essentially room temp. Okay. And then their core temperatures are just going to go on the right ones here. I just want to see how the... Oh, of course I screwed that one up. Go. Compartment water temperature, air temperature. I want compartment water temp. Water temp. That's the only temp that we get off that one. This is temp A. This is compartment temperature. Compartment temperature. We'll just read one of them. It doesn't matter. You know, it looks the same. Temp A. That's water temp. We want to be reading the water temp here on these. This one doesn't have a read. Okay. The whole reason I'm doing this test, some of these seem like they're ambiently cooling, and I want to check that out. So 29, 94, 94, 94, 94, 94, 29, 88. The water here is going up in temperature. This is the issue that I was noticing the other day. I think this is broken. This doesn't make any sense to me. If we look, watch the water temperature going up. Actually, no, it is making sense. Never mind. It's coming up to ambient. If it goes over, we're having a problem. So water temperature started below ambient temperature. So that's all it is. I thought it had gone over ambient temperature the other day when I did a test, but I'm not sure. So we won't call that a problem. If it goes over the ambient temperature, it is a problem. If it doesn't, we're good. So you notice that's 29, 694, 29, 94. So that looks like it's just coming up to ambient temp. So as long as they come up only to ambient temperature for the water, that's fine. So you notice it looks like the water is coming up to ambient temperature. Water rising to ambient, water rising to ambient, water, that doesn't show. This one here is coming up to ambient. So it looks like they're all coming up to ambient. This one stopped. That one's below by a little bit. You come up to ambient temp, you pretty much did. All right, so they're all coming up to ambient temp. That is normal. You know, you leave a pot of water out in the air, it's going to equalize at some point. All right, so that makes sense to me. It's trying to fight that urge to Trying to fight the urge to put one on each, but I think I'm going to. It's just, I can test them independently a little bit better. I need to fix a bunch of these, but start with this quick test of these two. Because really, theoretically, this has water in it. It should theoretically be cooling while it's sitting here. Because the electric fans are on, it should be blowing air through here and cooling the 250 liters that are sitting in it. Does not appear to be doing that. Appears to be, let's see, 94. Still a little bit cooler than that. It's probably basing the cycle too, so there's probably some formula in there. If it's not cycling, it's not doing shit, so that wouldn't surprise me either, so. So there might be something in there where it has to cycle to get anything. Like really, this should be cooling IRL. The core of it is full of water. You're cycling it, but it probably doesn't. Yes. See, now it's going up. It's not 100% counterintuitive because it's coming out of the core and going out here and heating, but I don't really like that behavior all that much. See, it's going up in temp. Came up in temp, 2993, so it's like... These are working, though, so I don't know if the coolant manifold is magic. It's probably the coolant manifold's probably just magic. Which, I hate magic. I'd rather it just work properly. Let's see. Which, again, it could be. Maybe I have a misunderstanding of it, so... We will reserve the thought process that that could be the case, too, that I'm just thinking of something funky. Because this, you know, these definitely work now to cool an engine, but I'm trying to figure out what the hell's going on with them. Yeah, see, it's not, I'm not able to just cool a loop. Because, like, what I was curious is, can I cool a tank of water? Can I cool this? And then I can go into testing with it, you know, go further into testing. But fortunately, I don't think, I think it's kind of faked out with the coolant manifold, unfortunately. Like, let's see. It looks the same. Yep, that's the same. Coming up to ambient temperature. You know, it doesn't surprise me we can't... Well, listen, we can't cool below ambient temperature because the air is what is taking the heat from the radiator. So I expect that. I expect we're not going to be able to drop below ambient temperature unless we're able to pressurize. If we could pressurize, we could theoretically do it. But with an air-cooled radiator like this, what you're doing is you have 29.94 air going over the fins. You're never going to be able to get that lower. But if you take water that is at 100 degrees, well, 29.94 is less than 100. So, of course, the air is now going to be able to be heated up because of that. All right, so we expect that to happen. That is expected behavior. So it should equalize. We shouldn't be able to go negative on these. I get that. That's fine. I understand that. I'm trying to come up with a test, though, that I can do. All right, let's do this test. So let's clear all this shit. Because I want to do some research on this. I try to actually do research before my tutorials to make sure that I know what the hell I'm talking about. Let's just open base again. Okay. So I'm going to start with one example, and then I'll go from there. So I'm kind of trying to come up with some methodology. I got to get going here in a minute. A little bit. I got about a half an hour I could go. But, all right. So this is going to read the ambient temp. This is going to read the temperature of the radiator here, right? Let's do a real fast test here. Tank of water. This was another thing I wanted to test. I wanted to see if I could add a heater to the fraction tower as a way to do kind of like mini heating, but that was something I wanted to test at some point. Okay. Tank pressure, tank content. Okay, I don't care about that really. Let's cut this. Go like that. I'm putting it way the hell over here because I want to check I want to make sure that we're far enough away that if I do a furnace or I do a heater like this, that we don't get a bunch of heat from that. I want to keep the ambient temperature at the radiator the same. It's part of the test, so. All right, let's try to run this. I got my ambient temp there. That will run. All right, let's test this out really quickly here. All right, so we're at ambient temp over here. This is currently higher than ambient temp. Nope, it isn't. Okay. I misread a digit. Okay. Misread the digit. All right, let's get this up to ambient temp before we even start the test. Doesn't need to be perfect, but need to get it up there close. All right, that is close enough to ambient temp there. We're within, what, 4 decimal places, so that's fine. All right, so this is turning on. Still climbing. All right, so the temperature over here is at ambient. It would be nice if we got a temperature of this sucker. All right, so that's circulating. Let's see where these pumps actually draining. Yep, they are 180, so it's perfect looping there. So temp looks stabilized. Temp stabilized. We should actually expect an increase if it was real life because of the fact that you would be as you're going through the pump, it's using up energy. It's passing that energy off. So, right. So that's climbing. That's working. Let's check ambient. Ambient hopefully is the same. Ambient's the same. So this test should theoretically work. You know, we're never going to be able to get anything below ambient unless we can do some pressure stuff. I got 15 more days for a big man's competition. Okay. It looks like we stabilized. Okay. All right, so we stabilized 3791. If it's the same as the temperature over there, that's not really working. Okay, good. So this works as a cooling test. So the ambient temperature is here. I don't know the temperature of this frickin' liquid, though. I can't put one in there. But we do have the ambient temp, which is here. Likely, the liquid is up to ambient temperature is what I would think. So this is showing 67.3. I would think this whole area is hot over there. This is ambient over here. We should get a rise because that proves to us that you saw the dial go shooting up when I turned on the heater. So that works. And it's got us pretty stable there. All right. So this is a reasonable test rig to test out some of the cooling. Let's save it. I'm going to save this as the initial cooling test. Okay. But that's a reasonable test to understand what's going on here. Because like right now, it seems like the only method that's working are these electric radiators, unfortunately. I want to test these. I have these in a lot of my builds. The nice thing is, with the pressure update, we really got much higher flow rates on these pumps, which allows us to do some cool stuff. What happened to these dials? Oh, I don't get a temp off that radiator. I don't get any temp off this radiator, so that's not even a test worth doing because I don't get any temperature off those radiators. So I can't check them. So that's useless. Because I can get ambient, I can't get the liquid temperature, unfortunately. So let's check some other stuff. Always backwards. All right, here's the air. I'm interested in these air because we can blow an absolute ton of air through things now, so that's kind of interesting since we can blow so much air through everything to see what happens. I'll see you later there, Rasmus. Thanks for hanging out. And why don't we have this dial anymore? Ambient, and then that's the water compartment temperature, and that's the air compartment. We want the water compartment temp. And then actually, I want to read air as well. Let's put an air on here because the air should be going up as it's stealing heat from. So this should go above ambient. That should dump. So, and if there's an issue with this, we can tell what the hell's going on. Turn this on. So this should come up to ambient. So that's the air temperatures coming up to ambient. The water temperature should come up to ambient. That is at ambient, of course. Very good. Let's turn this on. Cycle. So the water should be at ambient temperature or getting there. So this should continue, or the air should continue to go up to ambient. The water should continue to go up to ambient. And then now we're going to heat the water. And this should go up. See if we can control it. We're blowing 600 liters per second of air through here. The air temperature should be going up. So this is all working realistically how it should, right? The air is stripping heat from the water, right? The pipe would continue through here. Pipe would just go through here. The air would go around the pipe in the jacket. And then it would go out. So we expect this air here to be picking up temperature, which it is. It's above ambient. We've got this sucker screaming up. let's see if it stops. If it stops, we know that it is just that it's working. That's the thing. Is if this continues up to, where's ambient? 67.3. So if it's at 67.3, it's doing nothing. If it's anywhere under 67.3, it is doing something. Whether that something is enough is arguable. But the fact that it is doing something is what is important to me. All right, so it looks like it's trying. You can see the needle is dancing left, right, left, right. That means it's trying to cool it down. It's just not having a good job of it right now. And likely this is not going to be powerful enough. It is doing something, though. You can see it's passing temperature to the air. The air that's coming out of here is hotter than the ambient temperature, so that is working. This is, you can see it struggling. You see the needle going left, right, left, right, left, right. It is trying. It's trying to get the temperature down. It's just not powerful enough. So that is a good test. That's telling us something. All right. Of course, gotta miss something, huh? So that's doing something. It's just weak. It's weaky at the moment. So, like they did buff some stuff, but like I said, I hate metas, man. I want to use different stuff. I want to use different parts. I want to have an air-cooled X, Y, or Z. I want to have a liquid-cooled. I deleted that. Piss. I want to have, that stuff, and so it's like, it sucks when they make it so you can't have it, because there's a meta that, oh, if you use this, you succeed. If you don't use this, you don't succeed. Which sometimes, too, people will just, they'll jump, oh, fuck, whatever, I'm going to redo all this because I'm just accidentally deleting stuff as I'm talking. That's what I hate about metas. And it's okay if, like, you want to use X, Y, or Z, but it's nice if, like, you can use something different. It's like, when you feel like you can't because it's just that you're at such a disadvantage, it's just useless to use something else. That's never a good idea, I don't think. So it's, this air stuff should be useful in certain conditions. For example, like, this one's enormous. But, like, the small one, I like to use the small one. You can do air cooling where you don't do any pumps. You have no pumps except water. You have to water pump. That's it. That is a cool system. Air cooling engines, if that was effective, that would be awesome. The ability to actually air cool your engine. So, like, that stuff I would love to see. But presently, we don't have it. That's ambient there. All right, so this is going to be the water temp. That's air temp there. So this is just a bigger air exchanger here. I don't need two of these. It caps out at 500. This is the other thing people are doing is they'll stick on, oh, I'm going to go 2 large pumps. That will fix. Remember, if you watch the video, I tell you about, the last video, the tutorial I just put out there, just because, bigger isn't better, hotter isn't better, faster isn't always better. Everybody thinks that, I won't say everybody, but there are some people who think that if I go faster, it's better. If I go, quicker, it's better. If I have a higher liquid rate, it's better. It isn't always. That's the thing, is it isn't always. And so I showed that with the refining tutorial, that, yeah, you need to keep you want the temp of the furnace up higher. In the steam, you don't. You want the steam furnace lower so you can condense. You want the temperature of the furnace for the fraction tower as hot as possible, but you want to have the liquid go slowly through it. People are trying to pump it through as fast as possible. Of course, it doesn't have any time to heat up. So like some of the stuff does make sense. Let's see. I think we're good here for the test now. So let's see if we can get this cool. All right, so this should still rise to ambient. That's ambience. This is the water temp. Water temp should be coming up to ambient. So this is telling us what the temperature in there is right now, which should be ambient. All right, we're going to go ahead and we're going to nuke it. That's screaming up, as you can see. So we expect the air temperature that's coming out to go up. As you can see, air temperature is coming up. We can't see on that, but so like this, like yes, if somebody put on a large pump, we're already getting 599 through here. That's a lot. Do we need more now? You know, so you just end up wasting electricity sometimes. So you can see it's trying to keep cool. This one actually working worse than the other one? That would be nonsensical if it is. Like, see, this is where I think they do have some tweaking problems going on here. Is like this one is much bigger, and look, we're not doing really any better if at all than the other one, you know, because I think this goes up to 67.3. 67.3. You know, this, I don't even know if this is resisting it more than the other one is. But this thing takes up a lot of space, and that's the problem that I have with it, is this takes up a lot of space. Like, I think they should chop these legs off and make it flush mount so that we can actually utilize it. That's another issue, is this is useless with these legs, because now you need to put pipes on there, and now it becomes a 3 by, whatever the hell it is, 4, 5. And then you have to stick ports on the end, so you're at least 6, 7, you know. So it gets really big, and it's not doing much. What are we, 3 degrees cooler? And let's see if it drops at all. I don't think it's going to drop. Yeah, it's going up still. Still climbing. Yeah, so this is about useless. You know, and that's the problem I have, is what is the use case for this huge thing that does almost nothing? That's the problem, is like this over here. I'll run this. This over here is at least useful. That is useless, and that's the problem I have with it, is I think every part should have a use. Like this is holding us, we are holding below 67 where the other one would have gone over, but not by much, and it's huge. You know, like it's smaller than the radiator, we could say, but not by a lot. You know, and it's fine. Like, let's say each of them was equally as good. Well, that'd be awesome, because you could say, oh, well, I'd rather air cool this one. You know, the real one in real life is air cooled. I'll air cool this one, you know. Let's see where this gets to here. But, like, that's my main problem with some of the stuff is, it's like, to do the next step up, is this one. Let's see, where's the N? That's out. Okay. You know, that's kind of my issue, is I just hate the metas, because it makes it so that creativity goes out the window when you use metas. Something like I'm not a meta guy. I don't like metas in, say, like Tarkov. You know, I don't care if it's the quote-unquote the best. Like, people will literally spend triple, quadruple the amount of money in Tarkov on a gun that is 1% better. And that's like one of the things why I hate metas. I will buy a gun that is super cheap because I go 5% worse than their gun, and my gun costs like a tenth of what their gun costs. And you know, their gun is quote-unquote 5% better, and all I need to do is make up that 5% with skill, and I win the fight, and they lose the fight, you know. And it's like, that's one of the reasons I hate metas, is it's like, you know. And so, you know, for example, like say that this right here, so this is, you know, this is not as tall as the radiator. So let's say that you have a space that is very that's short and stubby. All right, if these two are equal, let's see if we can get them going here. If these two are equal, you could say, okay, the two are equal. This takes up a lot more round space, which I have. But I don't have a lot of height. So this one would actually be useful to me in a rounder but squatter spot. This one, if I had a really thin, tall space, this would be better. So even if they're equal, I think that would make more sense. Let's see where this one's at. I've never used one of these actually for anything, because these are really like useless, unfortunately. And that's what's really bothers me is, you know, every part should have a use. Even if it's a narrow use case, it should have a use. This one is definitely working better. Look at that. Notice before it was fighting, the needle was jumping back and forth. Actually, let's see. Is this one doing nothing? Let me see. True. What are we pushing through here? 599. Let's see. True. Let's see where we're at here. Let's see what this one does. This one might actually be doing nothing. Let me see. 67.3. we're nope. It's working. We're good. It is working. It's just slow. So it's definitely a slower rate. The other one was jumping up and down the whole time. This one's slower to climb, but like we're only right now we're 16 degrees cooler than the other one. There we go. I think we're leveling out. We're 3 decimal places and climb. What was that big jump in temp right there? We just got a big jump in temperature. We're putting out hotter. I didn't check the air value before, so it's not really fair to check it right now. Okay, we're down 4-ish decimal places here. Still climbing. It's definitely doing something, but this is the problem: is this should not be the king when we have blocks that are bigger. Theoretically, the bigger it is, the better it should be at cooling it. So we'll see where we get to here. Because this one right now, we're solid holding at 37.9. This one here is at 51. So theoretically, if you had an engine that was really squat and not very tall, this would be beneficial to you. It has worse performance, but it has a little bit of a size benefit. So like that, you could argue that is an okay use case for this. Let's step up one. Because we're getting into meta territory, which is just like farts on that. Not a huge fan of that. All right, let's go to this one. This one's big. This one is, this one again is long, but it's not. It's long and round. It's not very tall. So you could make that argument, but you need to start like this is big. So I expect this. I would hope this would at least match or exceed that radiator on the left. That would be my hope for this. Do I think it's going to do it? Probably not. But, because I think they're pretty much just focusing on meta X, Y, and Z, which I can get why they want to do that because they have to keep up with all these parts and fix them. But really, if they had solid numbers and they just they scaled properly, like let's say this one was 2.5% better than this. Well, then if you would scale one number and you say, okay, everybody's having problems controlling their heat now, we'll scale everything up by 10%, and each of them would move up in relation to their counterparts. So maybe they do that. Maybe I just don't know. So let's see the performance of this one here. The benefit of this one being that it is stout and long, not tall. So, I like the look of this too. This would fit right on a piece of construction equipment. I could see this being good on a construction equipment. You could put this on the exterior as decoration. It might be better decoration than the radiator. I get that. I'm not a huge fan of seeing the spinning fans in certain builds. Right. Ambient's good there. Let's see where we get to on this one. All right, we'll see you later. Citrus, good to see you. Thanks for hanging out. Just getting this. I want to put this tutorial playlist on Reddit. Unfortunately, Reddit's always fun. letting this build up temp here while I do this. All right, let's check. Okay, so this one is a good bit cooler still. So these are working. They're just a little bit funky. Yeah, so this one stopped. So, see, this is kind of my issue with it, though. Right now, we're at 43.12, so we're good. This here is at 37.9. This one takes up, let's see, how many blocks is this across? Is that a 5 banger? 5 banger? 5 by, what is it, 5 by 6? 5 by 6, I think. So 5 by 6, so 30 blocks. What does this take up for room? Because it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 by 3. Nope, what is that? It's 9 by 3 tall, but it's you know, that's a 9 block, so it'd be 9 times 9, so 81 blocks. Yeah, so, and then you have to then add on 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90. So we're like talking 100 blocks for that. That's kind of my issue with this, is this takes up a lot more blocks. This should be more potent than this. That's kind of my main issue with this, is this is easy and it's easy to plumb in. It is effective. You know, it uses electricity. That's the difference. You could say maybe that's the downside, is you use electricity, but it doesn't use much. This, you need a pump. So you know, you need a pump on this one, so you're going to be using electricity likely. Like, I think this for the size needs a boost. You know, I would like if they make it, if you know, I don't know if basing it particularly and exclusively on how many blocks it uses. Is really the right way to do it, but I think if you're going to expend all those blocks, you're going to use that space up in your build, that you should get some benefit for it by, you know, by having it be more potent. That's kind of my issue with how they do this. I'm going to do one more test and then jump off here. But yeah, that's kind of my issue with it, is it's like this takes up a lot of space, and it's working, but it's and the other thing too is that heating system only goes up to 67 degrees. If I had a diesel, I could easily get up over 100 degrees, and then I'm going to need multiples of those. You know, I think one of that tube that big should be plenty to cool off, you know, a reasonable size engine, frankly. Move it out, move it in. Okay, good. But that's kind of my main issue with this, is this is kind of the balancing stuff which I would like to see. Because it's a little bit disappointing when you have some cool looking parts. They're really well designed, you know, aesthetically. They would fit, like this would look good in a ship. This would look good on a bunch of different builds, but you can't do it because it's just you know, sucks ass compared to the kind of everybody's favorite meta, you know. You know, one thing they could add to these to make these things boss is, for example, you know, like this is an air-driven system. I have to have a pump pumping water through, and I have to have a pump pumping air through. It would be nice if this had an internal fan, so I did not need pump. That it had a fluid port built in and a fluid port built in. You may not want to do that because you could manually change it, but you know, the radiator has its own electric fan, so you don't deal with the air component of that. So, yeah, I don't know. It's just some ideas on trying to make this cooling systems better. We'll run this last test, and then I'll go. Yeah, it definitely looks like it's coming up a little slower. We'll see where it kind of chills out at the end. Oh, yeah, it is a 5x5. I was accidentally counting these top blocks. I counted these when I saw it instead of counting correctly. That's it. Yeah, it's 5x5, 3x3, 5x5s. I counted these top blocks. Getting worn out. Like this one's going up very slowly. So this one's pretty good. This one always caps out at 37.5. Or is it? This, no, whatever, 37.9. 37.9. So this one we are doing better. So we'll see. We'll see if this one stops though. So this one is better, but look at the enormity of this thing compared to the radiator. There's really no use case for this. It's 5 tall. It is however many friggin' wide it is. You know, this thing is huge. Plus, it needs its own air system too. So you're really adding a ton of size. You know, if this is double, triple the size of this, you know, this would be nice to have triple the performance of this. You know, that's my main gripe with this. Is I want triple the performance if I'm going to have triple the size, you know. You know, I like using the old radiator, the old style radiator. One of the reasons I like to use it is I just pump water through it. I don't have to have an extra node for the fans. And because I don't have to have an extra node for the fans, I like using those old school radiators because if I'm using like my ultralight, my ultralight uses air cooling. Which is the simplest because it uses a scoop. I guess you can use scoops on these. I wonder if you can pass exhaust through here. It says air in and out though, so exhaust is its own thing. So it may not like exhaust going through there. You might be able to run a cat and run it through there. That might be a benefit with these. But like I can't find much benefit with this thing. It's a little bit colder than that 5x5. You know, this would look good in a ship. Like, you could put this in a ship, and it would take the place of one 5x5 radiator at the expense of an enormous amount of size. Like, let's say you made this thing 3 to 5 times as powerful as that. It would justify the size. And that's all I want to see, is, like, I would love to put this in the engine room of Triton to do my cooling for the engines in Triton. You know, that would make sense. That would be fun. I think that would be a cool thing to do. But right now, it takes up so much space that the only place I could put that is on Triton. Maybe on the back of a construction equipment. You know, let's... Air-air heat exchanger. Heat exchanger averages the heat between the two air systems. Let's play with something. Let's do this real quick. Let's leave this bad Johnny on here. We know this is functioning better than the 5x5. Let's see if we can juice this bad John. Air B out, air A out, B in, B out. Okay. So it averages there. So let's see. B in. That's, okay. A in. A in, A out. Okay. Let's try something. Because this part here, if I can get this to help, and this isn't cumbersome, then that starts to make it a little bit more, you know, useful. Because like using this heat exchanger here, this is pretty small, so there's air in, air out. Okay, so like let's take this. Because we don't need to drop that much temperature. We're only getting this up to like 34. So we'll grab that. That's air out. So like you could try to pre-chill the air a little bit here. Maybe even cycle it. Okay, let's give this a run. Because, you know, like I said, I hate metas. I want to break the meta. I want to do something different and new, you know, and neat and fun. I don't want to just keep doing the same crap over again. Oh, like, oh, doing a build. What are we putting in there? Electric radiator. Well, okay, what are we putting in this one? Electric radiator. What are we putting in this one? Oh, electric radiator. You know, it's boring. I find it much more engaging and interesting to do something different. Alright, so that's 30, that's 35. So this is cooling. No, it isn't. Let me see. 5. I can't tell the end on this. What's that? 36. It is cooling. It's very small cool, though. Like, that's dropping like 1... No, it's actually... Is it dropping the total? Let's see. This may be able to juice this system. This is dropping temp. Let's see if... and that's... You know, that is quite a bit of space on here. I'm trying to think how we could get this smaller. Like... Because, you know, the problem is the pump is a 1x3. This is the other thing, is like everything's oversized. This pump's 1x3. So like that's 34. We are dropping the overall temp over here though, nicely. This is taking some temp, so that's up about less than a degree. So this is taking like less than a degree off this system here. Yeah, it's taking less than 1 degree off for potentially a lot of electrical use. We're a good bit cooler, but we're not that much cooler. 37.9 to 34.82. You know, this air temp keeps dropping too. But I wonder how long this system, if this will continue to help us. We're down to 33 there, 34 there. Is that still going south? That's still going south. This is still bringing the inlet temperature down. Yeah, it's still bringing the inlet temperature down. Are we dropping here? Still dropping over here, so... Like, maybe a compound system would be kind of cool, but it's... You know, I expect better results for this size. Look at how big this thing is. I love it. It's cool. It looks really neat. This is a neat system. I like plumbing these systems up and making them work. But you start to look at this and you're like, look at it. This is a grand total of, you know, what's the differential here? 3472. You know, so what are we talking? 3.2 something degrees. So we're putting in all this space for 3.2. I want 10 degrees, man. If I'm going to put in a system this big, I want 10 degrees off. Because theoretically, you could plug this into your... Let's say you plug this into your 3x3 modular diesel, and it saves you... you plug this into your 3x3 modular diesel, okay? And you're overheating by 5 degrees. All right, so what do I have to do? Add another 5x5 radiator. Or, instead of having 2 5x5 radiators on there, I now decide I need one of these. That is a smart thing. Because now, okay... I have a 3x3 in my ship. I need 2 of these, or I need 1 of these. So that is now, that becomes a reasonable equation that, yeah, maybe I'll go with this system. It looks cooler. I like it better. You know, maybe it's cheaper. I don't know the costs. Let's look at the costs. I'll save this for testing here. This thing cost me $150. Okay, that's see, this starts to make some sense now. Makes a little bit of sense. 5x5 radiator, $700. Now, the problem is you get people who play on custom games all day long and they never bother actually earning their money, and you get something like this that, yeah, this is super cheap. Is it really though? That's $150. This is gonna need 1 extra of those. That's now $250. $250. That needs at least 2 of these. So $350. Yeah, so we're still half the cost of this. I think this was part of the devs balancing idea. The issue becomes that the money doesn't matter to a lot of people. Like, the difference between 700 and 150 isn't enough. You know, like this, if this was like, say, 5,000 and this was 150, yeah, you'd say, okay, I'll take the space, you know. The other thing, too, to consider is this is 225. That's 25. This weighs 10 times more. You know, so you use up a lot of space, you use up a lot of weight. If this, let's say this cooled twice as much as the 5x5 and was 150, that starts to make the equation better for this. You know, this cost me $150. This cost me $700. this cools 5 times that. So this now becomes 3,500 to 150. This is now, you know, what's that? You know, 1,000 and change. 1,000 and change weight. No, what am I? My fucking math is all off today. 125. So that's 125. So this weighs double, or 100 kilograms more than 5 of these. And this is a lot cheaper. So yeah, this is going to cost you a lot of money. So for example, like my 3x3 modular engine, it needs 4 of these on my test rig. So that's 4 times, that's 3,500. So $3,500. If one of these would cool it, then you could say, yeah, that's a huge savings in money, right? And so I'm willing to spend the extra space to save the money and the plumbing on it. That would make sense. But because this is like just barely better than that, you know, the easy things, what's the point? For an extra, you know, 550, I can, yeah, 550, I can get this, and it's much more space compact, and it's almost as good as this. If this, like I said, if this was 5 times for the same price, yeah, you would say, now you actually have a reason to get this. Yep, I have a ship. It's better to get this. It saves me some money. I want to save some money on my ship. I'll go ahead and get this. You know, it cools. I'm going to need 5 of these. That's going to be a plumbing nightmare. I'm not going to be able to put them where I want, so I'm going to get 1 of these. That starts making sense. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, yeah, so I might do a write-up for the devs, see if we can't get that going. I'm gonna do a long bit of cooling testing and testing everything out, seeing what I can do. But you know, that would be kind of my thing. Is they do need a balancing pass on this cooling. Yeah, people have been struggling with cooling ever since it came out. The devs have been struggling with cooling ever since it came out for modular engines. You know, the thing that they need to do is they need to come up with a formula that this is always going to cost whatever it is. You know, this is always going to be a certain amount cheaper than this. So you put it in as a number. This is always a certain amount cheaper than this. This is always a certain amount better at cooling than this. And then you can, when you have to tweak cooling, if everybody's stuff is on fire, you drag them all up in effectiveness. If everybody is OP cooling, you drag them all down in cooling, so you can move everything. And then if they want to make minor tweaks here, but it doesn't seem like they balance these out, because it gets in, like this is $30. That's super cheap, but it's huge. And it's way not effective enough. This thing, I love these. These are fantastic. And I'll show you why. Here's my ultralight. I don't know if it works right now, but this works. This is the most compact type of cooling you can have, and the cheapest. I have a water pump here. All right. It pumps water from this. Is that merged? Yep. It pumps water. You do need a tank in this setup when I built it, because it's so small, there's not enough water for the system. So it pumps water up and through into this air manifold here. And then this is a scoop, so when we're moving in the air, it takes in air and it pushes it right out. There are no other moving parts. So I love this system. Look at how compact this is. And if you had if you had a radiator, you know, like the smallest radiator I could do would be like this on top. We could do that on top, theoretically, so it could be like that. You could have something like that, could be pretty small. That would be about equally as small. A little bit more, because you'd have that whole, still have this whole section here because of piping. So this is the most compact I can get, is one of these air coolers. So that is nice. That gives you a reason to use the air cooler. If you look at the prices, of these, that's 15 bucks. Let's do. This is 200. So that's where this comes in. But the problem is, I don't know if it's a problem, but like I love that this ultralight, it's cost me 6,600 and it's only 400 mass. I like that this is ultra cheap. A lot of people just don't care about that, so you know, maybe I'm a weirdo, but you know, I would like them to. I don't even think they need to buff cooling, they need to balance cooling. Balancing cooling would fix a lot of the problems. I think the 5x5 radiator is perfectly strong. Like literally, I do not have a truck that overheats now. I don't have a car that overheats now. I use either the 3x3 or the 5x5 or this. I have no truck or car that overheats. Some people do. That means your RPS and your load is too high, frankly, as far as I'm concerned. Then when you get into stuff like this, you should not be using a 5x5 or a 3x3 on a ship at that point. Really, that doesn't make sense. You should be taking water, but you should either be passing it through liquids or you should be using heat sinks. They need to give us a reason to use these. These should be for ships. That's only 30 bucks. That's 50 bucks. That's 300 bucks. So we should be using heat sinks for ships. That should be the most efficient for ships is heat sinks, period. These should be a pain in the ass to run in a ship. All right, that's the way I think they should do that. These air should also work on ships fine. They're huge, perfect for a ship. They're very big, makes sense on a ship. You're sucking in fresh, cold air from outside. You're plumbing the water through it, and then you're pissing the hot air out. That makes perfect sense. They just need a buff. These need a buff. We have some more air heat exchange. So I'm going to work on this. I'm going to do some tutorials. I'm going to do a lot of testing first. But yeah, so that's kind of one of the things I want to get working on is that. So I think we're going to wrap it up there. I'll go ahead and I want to thank all of the members here. So we have Side Mountain, Connor Boyle, Danny, Sergeant Chaos, Aaron Repairs All, and FS Gamer. I appreciate you guys for being members. Thank you very much. If you're interested in being members, you can look down in the description below. Thank you to Chicken Soar for being a patron. If you're interested in that, it's also down in the description below. If you have not subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. Appreciate it if you like this video and the other videos that you do like. That helps other people find. So thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.